Um, I just want to talk about, police officers and why I think that police reform is pretty much useless. Because there's no point you trying to reform something that can't be reformed. Again, trying to reform the police is like trying to squeeze water out of a freaking rock, and that's not going to happen. So simply put, you know, this whole idea of reforming the police, I think is silly. I think it's short sighted and foolish because there's no such thing as reforming the police. What I say is completely deconstruct, completely destroy, completely dismantle, and rebuild a police force, reimagining of the police force. I think once again the private market offers a solution to this that I think that we aren't looking into and we aren't tapping into. We use private security for so many other features, for federal buildings, for military bases. Well, I mean, you have army bases with using private security. How come you can't have the same private security patrolling streets? You know, it's just so strange how people fall for propaganda so often. People fall for the propaganda that police officers put out saying that they are needed, that they specifically in their current incarnation are needed as they are, when the fact is you can have private security do the exact same function without qualified immunity. That's my point. Don't present it as they are the only option, because they are not the only option. And even if you don't think that other options are better, my thing is it's just I want to be able to have the option. You shouldn't just get to choose that for me because that's the way things have always been, or if that's the way you think that things are always gonna be. I want to have the choice and the option to make for myself as an American citizen, as a freaking taxpayer. Now, if you don't agree with that, then that means that you must be a bootlicker. You must want daddy government to protect you in all capacities. But I choose not to. I choose to protect myself. I don't need cops to protect me. I need them to protect me when I was being molested as a fucking child. You know, that's when I needed you. And I told police officers, and they did nothing. That's why I went into law enforcement to go and change things in the state of South Carolina. I bring that up all the time because I carry it around. That's my personal pain. That's my trauma. You know, so I did need them, and they weren't there. So I'm a prime example of I'm still alive because of my own willpower and will to survive. All right, so before somebody comes in here with the same bullshit of, well, what you gonna do? You need police. Well, we've already tested that theory when I was 4 years old, when I was 8 years old, when I was 9 years old, when I was 10 years old, when I was 11 years old, when I was 12 years old. Happened numerous times. My older brother is the one who fucking did it. So I did need them. I did tell them, and they did nothing. And even as a fucking adult, when I tried to re-report it, they laughed at me. I have to record it on my fucking YouTube channel. So my whole thing is that I want to be able to, as myself, make the choice as to who patrols my neighborhoods. I would rather have private security because that's a private option outside of the government, and the private market is always better than the government. If you don't think so, then you are a goddamn fool. If you don't think so, then you've clearly never you clearly never have driven on a freaking American road. If you don't think so, you clearly have never seen us wage a goddamn war. Have you seen Vietnam? Have you seen Iraq? Have you seen Afghanistan? So my thing is that you got to understand people should have the option as to who polices their neighborhoods. Guys, hit like button. Make sure you share the stream. Make sure you tell people that I'm running the stream. I want to have the conversation, right? So I just want people to let me know, why is it that people focus so much on preserving the system that we have without even trying to follow a different way? How do you know that the other way that I'm talking about isn't better if you won't even try it? Or you won't even notice that my way of doing things, right, is what's matching what the average American person wants. The average American doesn't care if it's a person who's wearing a private security uniform or a police uniform who comes and helps them when they dial 911. All they care about is that they get the help that they need. And oftentimes with police officers, given how we've had several court cases that set precedents where police officers don't even have a constitutional duty to even protect you, I think it poses a problem. because people are paying for something that oftentimes they don't agree with. Now, I don't care how you see it or how you slice it or dice it. If you're gonna make the argument, like the same people, right? Same people who sit there and bitch and whine about a freaking mandate, right? Same people, right? Same people who sit there and do all that shit, right? They'll sit there and try to force the same system on me. And it's like, okay, so you saying that it's your body, your rights. Well, how about this? It's my tax dollars, my fucking rights. Should I not get a choice into who polices my fucking neighborhoods? No? And once again, you bring up Chicago. All right, man. Jacob, if you're gonna be disruptive, you gotta go now. Now I'm gonna mute you for 1 minute. Next time it's gonna be a permanent. And if cops are so good, how come Chicago is what it is? Because Chicago PD is one of the most well funded police departments in the whole damn country. So what is your point? Explain to me what exactly is your point? You know, you vote for DA, correct? No, you're policing the thread. Well, yeah, of course, it's my stream because of well, well, there's certain things I'm not going to allow on the stream, right? So if you speak in hate speech, you got to go flat out. All right, just if you're going to make arguments on behalf of the police, right? What you don't want to do, right, is make your name something like your local racist. Don't say stuff like that. Because see, what that's gonna do is embolden my point. It's gonna show that people who are arguing against me are the racists that I call them. So don't give me that easy point, right? Okay. Too thin a skin. All right. Well, if you're gonna come and insult the freaking host, well then yeah, you gotta get banned. So you gotta go. Spuddy Waters, goodbye. There's that same people that are for police and against mandate. Yeah, it is. Absolutely. Absolutely. It is. He didn't say anything hateful. Yeah, he did. And you can get muted for that too. Don't come in here with stupid shit. I don't like it. Okay? I don't like it. I don't like it. Don't lie. Don't say racist shit. And we're good. All right? But you can't come into someone else's stream, right? And talk shit to the host, right? No, not everybody disagrees with me as racist. Sounds like you just want to mute anybody disrespecting. Okay, well, I'm gonna mute you because you are just being disruptive. Okay. No, what I don't want is simple shit. Like, don't be racist. Don't say stupid shit. And just don't sit there and insult the goddamn host. Because if you're gonna insult me, why should I even listen to you? Okay. So once again, cops police by race. What's the question? Well, once again, if you got more than thoughts fault, okay. So let's see. Jamal for Jesus. Give me a second. Most cops are bad. All right, in here.
Hey, what's up? What's up?
What's going on, Jamal? How you doing? How you doing, brother?
I'm chilling, man. I'm chilling. I'm chilling. Just saw your stream. I was like, oh snap, you're streaming at this time of the morning. So
Yeah. I stream. I try to intentionally stream when people aren't streaming so that I don't interfere with what they're I'm doing because some people are trying to make some money off of this stuff. And
yeah, yeah,
I'm trying to be considerate.
yeah. I'm just kind of bothered by some of the comments here. Oh man, you got a lot of cop defenders. Hey, if you love the cops, I say more power to you. But the truth and the reality is that a lot of black people just don't trust the cops, and I have even studies to back up what I'm saying. And I think they have a legitimate reason not to trust cops. There's an actual, I think I said this before in another stream. There's an actual study, right, that was just released pretty recently that shows that cops, when they interact with black people, they have more of a condescending tone when they interact with black people, and they tend to disrespect black people. This is an actual study that was released fairly recently. So that's just one issue with cops. Another issue with cops is that um, oh, another study I just read. Here it is. Wait, hold on. Okay, I can't believe this is real, but it says approximately half of black respondents prefer to be robbed or burglarized than to have unprovoked contact with officers. That's another. So
Yeah.
black people. So yeah, man, and yeah, there's just so many studies that shows that cops racially profile black people. Um, in traffic stops, black people are more likely to be stopped by police officers, even though white people are more likely to be found with contraband. Okay, so to those who say that, oh well, black people commit more crimes, maybe that's true for certain crimes like murder. Um, but when cops do a search on a car, right, during a traffic stop, white people are more likely to be found with contraband than black people. So why is it that black people are more likely to be stopped and searched by the police in traffic stops? Come on, people, those who defend the cops, please explain that to me. You could do a I can't post links in the chat, so I can't post the links to the studies. But just do a quick Google search, and you'll find it very quickly.
Well, here's the thing, right? Is that I could show you, I could show them that study, and it wouldn't make a fucking difference, man. Right? It wouldn't make a difference because with certain people, they see the cops as keeping people that they don't like down or keeping people that they don't like out of their neighborhoods, right? And those people happen to be us. And so again, there's an overlap. There's an overlap. There's an overlap between the people who will say things like, oh, we need stronger borders, and people who say things like police are great. Because that naturally goes hand in hand. If you see the border patrol, they are essentially law enforcement. So why wouldn't you praise them? So think about it. I mean, there's a whole lot of overlap here, and everything that you just explained is a good part of it. They understand what law enforcement is. It's a force to keep the serfs in check, and the serfs are whoever people deem to be serfs. People, who don't look like them, people who don't have the same education level as them, people who don't have the same things as them, the same possessions, the same social status,
Right.
the same pedigree. People see things. People see police officers as the gatekeepers of who gets to be a true American or not. So
Yeah.
I think that's probably the longest way to answer your question, but I think that is what you're seeing here, and I think it's very interesting that the support of cops, you know, there's almost a type of breaking branch effect that's going on right now because on the one end you got people who are so mad at cops because of the whole mandates, right? But then on the other end you got people out here who want to blow off cops. So I'm wondering if that support of police officers is going to break soon. What do you think?
Um, Man, I think more and more people are not going to be supporting the police. They're not going to be idolizing the police and be blindly, just licking their boots because they went to a police academy for 6 months and got a little badge. You know, um, the reason why I think a lot less people are going to be supporting the police, like especially like the younger generation, is because everybody these days have cameras, and the younger generation are more likely to go on social media, on TikTok, YouTube, and whatnot, and they're seeing a lot of these cops, you know, perpetrate misconduct, you know, perpetrate all these kind of evil acts. And a lot of the younger generation, you know, they're seeing it. They're being fed um these videos of cops just doing like really bad things, and this is bad PR for the police.
I'm gonna point out something quick. So a person named Kevin Band said something that I thought was absolutely ridiculous, right? We should be worried about about martial law and military, not police. All right, listen, let me say it to you slowly. If there is martial law, the first people to actually enforce martial law are going to be the police. It's not going to be the military. The military is going to come later. You know how you bring up the riots of 2020 all the time? It was not the military who came first, right? It was the police. So let me say it for you slowly because I have a feeling, right? I have an inkling that you might have to have it said slowly to you. I'm not going to insult you. If there's going to be martial law, why would you not suspect the first people to enforce martial fucking law? Why would you suspect that it would not be the police?
Okay, and someone also said that misconduct is a very small percentage. Listen, man, I have a Twitter account.
Wait, hold on,
No, let me address
First
it.
off, can I just put out one
Yeah.
thing? The fallacy in that statement is that that's like saying people lying, right? People lying to other people is a small thing. How how do you prove a negative? That's like asking me to prove a negative. You're asking me to prove misconduct when misconduct is designed to not be found. That's fucking stupid. But go ahead, man.
And listen, man, I have a Twitter account, right, where I just post news reports police misconduct. There's so many news reports of police misconduct that I can't even keep up, right? And I want you to keep this in mind that the police population in America is less than 0.0024%. It's like less than a million people out of what 330 million people in America, right? It's a very small percentage of the American population, right? So I mean, just look at this. I don't know if you can see my screen. It's probably like inverted, but it says Armed School Resources offers going to student homes with guns, you know, to tell students, better do your homework. A patrolman in Maine pulled over a 63-year-old man for a traffic stop. 40 seconds later, he sent his canine on him. It's a crazy video. You should watch that.
Hmm.
Inside Arizona Police Department filled with Brady list cops. Its superiors police force was filled with discredited cops who was enabled by a broken Brady list system that let them escape lasting accountability and kept transgressions hidden. A Maine cop sued her former department to shield her misconduct. I could keep going on and on. City denies women compensation. This is really the city's fault, but the cops shot up her car and over a shootout, and the city didn't compensate her. Um, La Mirada cop goes on person's property at night to play on swing set. I mean, I could just keep. Oh, missing a burglary call to play Pokemon Go. Let me find that one.
I did a video on that actually.
Oh, you did? Okay, okay.
Yes, I did.
Las Vegas.
I started out one. I did two of them. I started out one. I said prepare for trouble and make it double because it was two cops that got fired. And then I said, I was like, wait a minute. I said, the supervisor who was looking for the cops. I was like, he had a freaking side up. He made that Pokemon side up. The one that was like, he was so confused. He's like, "Saya."
Oh
Yo,
my
even
goodness.
I said like even Team Rocket was not that bold, yo. Team Rocket wasn't that bold, right?
Yeah.
And here's the thing. I had some comments in the chat. One person said that these things are often conflated, and the other person said that misconduct is a small percentage. First of all, if you're gonna make that claim, I come from a state where we've had 13 sheriffs since 2010 locked up for crimes and convicted of those crimes. Everything from rape to beating a cat with a baseball cat to beating a cat with a baseball bat to embezzlement, you name it. So you can't say that in my case, can you? Not in my case. If that's just sheriffs, right? Since 2010, you can't say that in my case, can you? So you got to back up on that one. Now, if that's just my state, what the fuck you think is going on? And mind you, that's South Carolina. That's only 5.1 million people. That's my home state. I'm in Washington State now. So if I started out on the East Coast and now I'm at the Pacific Northwest, which is the most Pacific Northwest that you can go in the whole damn country, and my current sheriff, the Pierce County sheriff, he's facing charges for lying on a black newspaper carrier. His name is Ed. His name is Ed Troyer. And then we have an assistant police chief in Kent, Washington, who is a literal Nazi. No, I'm not joking you. He literally displayed Nazi SS symbols on his office door for about 2 weeks back in 2020. And his own department investigated and found that, yeah, he knew what it was. And he's been suspended for only 2 weeks and he's not fired. So you don't get to tell me that shit. If I see that shit again, I'm going to bang you from the whole goddamn chat. Anyways, go ahead, man. You might can say that to Jamal, but not to me. Now Jamal, he probably won't even take it. Not to me.
No, man. Yeah, man. So just like in the last week, man, I've been reading all these reports of just very, very gross police misconduct, and it just blows my mind. Um, Las Vegas police reached a $500,000 settlement with Jason Funke, who was shot while running away naked outside a church after dropping his gun. So when he was shot, he was unarmed. You know, he was naked, but the cops still shot him. And us taxpayers or Las Vegas taxpayers will be paying for their settlement, $500,000. Oh well, right? To the people who love
Mhm.
cops, it just oh well, you know, it is what it is, right? Being a
Well,
cop is a
it's
very
it's
hard
it's
job
it's
supposedly.
always back to blue until it happens to you, right?
Exactly, exactly. A
So I mean,
lawsuit.
again,
Yeah.
I'm very curious. What do you think the people who are blowing off cops? What do you think they're gonna do when a vaccine mandate does get through and they have to make that inevitable confrontation with police officers over it?
Exactly. Yeah, and I notice like I go on Twitter sometimes, and when the cops were enforcing like business closures during like the whole um, climax of the pandemic, I seen a lot of people kind of like turn away from cops. It's like whoa, no longer it's like back to blue. So it's like I, so people they're very fickle with that. They're not. Some people, they're back to blue, but until they start like messing with their freedom, it's like, oh, okay, now, yeah. So I don't know. Some people are not just like super blindly back to blue, but yeah, I know if it ever comes to a point where they start like banning guns or taking away guns, oh, now it's like we hate the blue now, right? Because who else are they going to use to do that, right? If that ever happens, I think.
Well, here's my other question, right? So when it comes to police officers, have you noticed the same thing that I've noticed now? Have you noticed that it's the support is also about control? It's not that they don't know what you and I know. It's that they do know it. And that's why they want police in, that's why they want the police there. Because the same way a lot of I'm not going to say skin color, a lot of people are concerned about the future of their children. I'm just going to say it like that. The same way that they're making these arguments about the replacement theory,
Yeah.
wouldn't the same people making the arguments about replacement theory be the same people who would want the police in check to keep killing black men at the rate that they're killing them, keep causing the poverty that they're causing, locking people up, giving them records? Why wouldn't they want the same thing too at the same time if they already knew what was happening?
Yeah. I think like I said, I think a lot more white people are having less support of the police. I think I told you about the study about um uh a third of people under the age of about 30 or 35 want to completely abolish the police, which is
Right,
crazy. So
right.
so a lot more people are starting to not really support the police. And I think it's just because people are starting to see videos like, a lot of channels on YouTube are like cop watcher channels now, and they're seeing all
Yeah.
these videos of people like filming the police, how they behave and how they're condescending, how they disrespect the law, they don't respect the Constitution. And they're seeing all that. It's like, dang, we need to like just tear down the system and just build it back up. This is ridiculous, you know? It's usually like,
Can I ask you a question?
yeah, yeah.
Have you also noticed that a lot of the conservatives, a lot of people who are MAGA, a lot of people who claim to be pro-gun, have you also noticed that they've missed the irony that they also claim now? Because again, they have to claim this because if it's not true that the gun sales are down, then that would hurt their pro-gun arguments, right? So they are saying that the gun sales are up, right? And it's partially
Hmm.
because of the whole pandemic, and that is true. Do you think that they've missed the irony of gun sales being at the highest in American history, while at the same time trust in police is also at the lowest in American history?
Yeah, yeah, that's that should tell you something,
Have they
right?
missed the irony? Have they not have they misunderstood? That's the point of the fucking Second Amendment. That was the point. That was the
Exactly,
spirit
exactly.
behind it. Don't trust the government. Arm yourself. That was the goddamn point.
You know what, man? I don't understand why some people just blindly idolize the police. Like, how come garbage men don't have like back the garbage man? I mean, they being a garbage man is a more dangerous job than being a cop if you actually look up the studies. Being a cop doesn't even make the top 10 most dangerous jobs in America.
No,
What are the people who support people who are fishermen or lumberjacks? Um, but it's back to
exactly.
blue, back to blue. It's like, why? I mean, yes, yes, they have. I mean, they're getting paid for something that they're supposed to do. Like, why are you guys praising them? I just don't get it.
I
It
can
boggles
tell
my
you
mind.
it's partially because of bigotry. It's partially because of a desire to punish the people that they see as the other because they know that police usually go for the other and never go for the rich. But it's also partially because of a romantic view of police. You notice how
Yeah,
the jobs that we see as the most valuable are the jobs that also happen to be prominently featured on television. Like, for example, we see politicians as infallible and we keep trusting them because they're always on damn TV. We see police as these great superheroes because they have propaganda shows like NYPD Blue and Law and Order, you
yeah,
know, and we see Alaskan, 20 years ago, nobody would have gave a fuck who a goddamn Alaskan king crab fisherman was. But all of a sudden, we give a shit. Why? Because it's on damn TV. It's on Netflix. That's the only reason why. And see, I think that's one of the biggest problems here. It's the propaganda, man.
yeah. Like I said,
Propaganda.
yeah.
It is so powerful. And if you're not careful, you'll be watching it and falling for it and not even realize it.
Yeah, it's not as if that, because people say like, oh, we need the cops, we need the cops. Okay, well, we also need garbage men, we also need lumberjacks, we also need roofers, right? Can you
Well,
imagine if
it's so irrational, right? It's so irrational because you have more of you encounter a garbage man more than you encounter a damn police officer. So who is more valuable? Because I guarantee you that you can go your whole life without ever encountering a damn cop. If you are a white person, you can go your whole life without ever encountering a fucking cop. You will not go your whole life without encountering a goddamn garbage man at some point.
okay, and
Even
for
if
for
you,
all the,
yeah,
and for all the cop lovers in here, I'm not talking down on cops because I'm a criminal or anything like that. For the first time in my life, I got arrested at the age of 40, all right? Before that, I would get detained a lot, because of racial profiling, but they will go fishing for a crime on me, but they will never find anything because I don't commit crimes, right? And the first time ever I got arrested at the age of 40, not because I committed a crime, it was because they arrested me for resisting arrest of a false arrest. So it's like, and I never like committed like any violent crime or nothing. I was never like victimizing anyone. It was just like oh, you're black, you must have committed a crime, and it was a crazy situation. So I'm not a criminal. That's not the reason why I dislike cops because I like to commit crimes. I want to get away with it. Okay, so don't come in here and say that. Oh, you must be a criminal. Okay, don't say that or
Mm.
don't think that. Okay.
Well, here's the thing. My thing is, right, even if you were, what would it change? What
Yeah,
would it
yeah.
change? You know, my thing is, right, is that whoever, uses the argument of what only criminals dislike cops. Excuse me, have you met the old hippies from the 50s, 60s? Most of them were, I would say 99.9% of them were freaking white, and not one of them liked cops. They all hated them. They all hated them. Couldn't fucking stand them. And the main reason was that they saw police officers for what they were, an oppressive force. So my thing is just people typically use that argument because they think that because you're black and you complained about the police officers, that you must be a bad person. Because had I been Billy Bob and had you been Jeffro, that would have never came up. Because I've literally seen there's another TikToker named Confessions of a Convict. He's a literal convict. He named his handle after that so that you could never confuse that. That's his whole spiel. And I rarely see that come up, even though that's in his damn name. All because it's white.
Mm.
And he even pointed out one of the greatest points I think I made in a video actually came from a thought that he came up with. And so that's why I tagged him in it because it was his idea. He pointed out about how so many people will say stupid stuff like black people make up 13% of the population, but 50% of the crime. He's like, first of all, what is crime? It's not violent crime, first off. He says, but he says, but also that stat is not only, untrue, right? You also don't account for the fact that black people are also disproportionately the majority of exonerations, 47%. But but we're only 13% of the population. We are 6 times more likely than a white man to be convicted of rape, even though we didn't even do it.
Another thing is that there's so many laws on the book that they can prosecute you like for like pretty much for anything. Like it says here that more than 70% of American adults have committed a crime that could lead to imprisonment. But it's really like up to the DA's discretion to prosecute, whatever crime they want to, prosecute. So, you know,
Well, the other thing about prosecution when it comes to police officers is, I put out a video earlier on this morning, and I thought about something. I said, wait a minute. People who support police officers, they don't seem to think to themselves just for a quick second. Why is it that we're always told to get a lawyer before we even talk to cops? It's
yeah,
because
because
there's
you
an
can't trust that.
expectation. There's an expectation of not only you divulging information that you shouldn't divulge, but there's also an expectation that cops lie.
Yeah, they do lie, and they can lie. I think it's like legally, they're legally allowed
Yeah,
to lie to you. So it's like, why would you trust them?
I actually had somebody ask me in the comment section. They actually said, how are cops legally allowed to lie? I said, have you ever heard of a sting operation? That is a lie. You're presenting a false narrative of yourself that isn't true in order to get something out of somebody. Or you can go to someone during interrogation, before or after interrogation, because remember, you are always on the freaking record. Even when they tell you, off the record, you're always on the record. They can come to you and say, we have evidence that proves your guilt.
Yep.
And they
Never
could be
ever,
lying.
never ever trust a cop. Just don't say anything and just practice um your Fifth Amendment right? And don't. I would have never talked to the cop. Maybe other people will, but if I'm being accused of a crime, I'm just gonna be like, zip, I ain't saying anything.
Well, the thing that I find interesting about, interrogations, right, is that it is not only written into federal statutes and federal law that they can lie to you and get a false confession of the exonerations. That I did a little short video on TikTok about black people being the most exonerated in the whole country. And one of the things that I found interesting when I was reading over that study, it was from the National Registry of Exonerations for the whole country. I thought it was
Mhm.
interesting that there was one part in there. Um, it was stating that that when it comes to exonerations of black people, 22% of those exonerations, right, involve police misconduct, and that almost 30% of those actual guilty pleas were done under coercion or by police officers presenting evidence that they never had in order to get a confession. So basically, just a longer version of coercion. That's why so many of them were exonerated. And so it
Right,
happened a
yeah.
lot in Texas, happened a lot in Georgia, South Carolina, a lot in
Philadelphia, Baltimore.
California.
Yeah, yeah,
Oh,
yeah.
Philly was awful. Philly was like
Yeah.
like near the freaking top. I think the top was freaking New York. New York is you're hearing about New York. Guys get released every other fucking day, ain't it? Shit.
Oh
Damn.
my goodness, man.
Cause they had cats down at freaking Rutgers, yo, on
Some
false charges, yo. Mm,
someone said I wouldn't want the job to go around and take people's hard-earned money. Speaking about that, civil asset forfeiture, that's a huge
yes.
thing in America. I believe, I think I read somewhere that cops take more money from people than burglars do in America.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Yes, I'm going to repeat that for you. He's absolutely right. I'm going to do a deep dive on that. Thank you, Jamal, for reminding me. Cops, in fact, take more proceeds and more money and more property from the American citizen at any given point than all the burglars in all U.S. states and territories and
And and
assets
all
combined.
and all you back the blue people still back the blue. It's just crazy. When you conservatives talk about smaller government, less government power, less taxes, but you guys support the police, it doesn't make sense to me. It just doesn't.
Um, uh, I'm gonna tell you, man. I recently I initiated with the Tacoma Black Panther Party. I was with the Seattle Panthers, so I decided to bring it a little bit more closer to freaking home. And so I was discussing it with a bunch of people, and we were going over actual cop stats, man. And one thing I heard that I thought was wild that blew my fucking mind when it comes to civil forfeiture, right? They said that in 30 years' time, at the rate that cops are taking stuff from citizens, they could eliminate at least 1/5 of the national deficit.
Wow, that's crazy.
That's
Um,
fucking insane.
I mean, some can make an argument that okay, if they have if a person is convicted of committing a crime, then they could take their whatever they have. Okay, fine. But just based off of suspicion, cops just take your money just based off of suspicion all the
Right,
time.
right.
That's
I can
crazy.
tell you exact type of scenario. So there is there's a sheriff in Spartanburg, South Carolina named Chuck Wright. So Chuck Wright is so well known for taking people's stuff during civil forfeiture, even though he's never charged him with a crime. He's currently facing I think his 13th lawsuit. 13th lawsuit for this stuff during civil forfeiture, even though he's never charged him with a crime. He's currently facing I think his 13th lawsuit. 13th lawsuit for this. It is so bad with him to the point where his personal vehicle that he drives around in was taken in a civil forfeiture.
That's crazy.
The
That's
vehicle
theft.
that he drives in to
That's theft.
work, to home, everywhere else was taken from somebody else. And then what makes it even worse is that in South Carolina every year there's this thing called Operation Rolling Thunder. And so basically they set up this huge checkpoint in Spartanburg. All law enforcement in the whole state converge on that one city. And so basically, it's a like a huge checkpoint, and they pull people over at random, and they'll search your vehicle. If they find you with any loose cash, they will accuse you of trying to use it in the commission of a freaking crime. Now, would
Right.
it be very, very interesting to know that when the Spartanburg News looked into it, more than 60% of all people targeted were black people.
Yeah,
Now, what's
yeah.
strange about that is that Spartanburg County, the areas that they actually targeted, was majority white. What's even
Mm.
more interesting about that is that when you look at other places in South Carolina, is like Chester County, South Carolina, right? We still criminalize in that state marijuana. Now, marijuana is so criminalized there that Chester County, South Carolina, is number 2 in the whole nation for the rate of locking people up for marijuana. Number 2 in the whole nation. When you look at the population of Chester County, right? 70% of it is white, and yet more than 80% of all the weed arrests there are of black people. And I know for a
Mm.
fact, since South Carolina is my home state, that almost every white person there, with the exception of maybe the old grandma, smoke weed there. I know that because I smoke weed, and I know that before I left there, who I brought weed from. So it's kind of hard to argue with me if I kind of know where I had to go. I mean, so I'm just saying, it's just like it when you follow all the evidence, you start to realize what police officers are actually there for. They are there to target people who society has deemed to be lesser than. And at the
Yeah.
moment, it happens to be Latinos, happens to be transgender people, happens to be gay people, happens to be some women. Definitely black people, though, without a question.
Yeah.
And
Well, yeah.
the way that you know that black people are targeted so hard is that everybody else tries to use our fucking struggle. Oh, saying this word is like saying the goddamn N word. No, the fuck it's not. Don't you do that shit. Oh, saying this word is like calling the black person this word. Shut the fuck up. That is not true. you know, saying this word it's like going to a black person and being a freaking bigot. Listen, I'm not saying right that people can't have their struggles. I'm not saying that whatsoever. However, I am saying the same way that you understand there's a difference between a grease fire and a freaking electrical fire. You understand that one thing can also not be like the other. Okay.
Yeah.
Two things
Like,
can be true at once. You can experience hardship while at the same time I'm experiencing hardship. What you don't do is piggyback off of my damn struggle.
yeah, yeah. But I think
Just saying.
even white women or just women in general should be wary of cops too, because I've read studies or just reports of police officers involved in sexual misconduct with women. So it's like if I was a woman and I was getting pulled over at night, I would not be pulled over. I would not stop in a very dark area. I would go to a very populated light area. I would never. That's how bad it is in America that you can't even like trust cops to be alone with them in the dark.
There was a cop, you remember that cop who got like 200 years, right? That I think it was a cop who he got like 200 years behind bar. It was some crazy amount of years that he had got. He had pulled over so many women and it was bad. Just targeting them
Yeah,
intentionally
yeah, yeah,
and
yeah.
doing horrible shit to them. I cover a story like that. I would say, cause see, I upload probably on average, like on like a good month. For that month, I probably upload about 4 to 6 videos like a day. And so I would say in a week's time, I probably cover about 8 videos like that. In a week's time of a police officer just not gonna say the R word. I'm just gonna say did some horrible stuff to women. I cover stuff like that all the time, and it's so common to the point. Whereas when they were doing it with children, I had to take like a 2 week break. I had to stop like uploading because I was just
It's,
it was
it's sickening.
it was getting to the point. Yeah,
It's very sickening when I read these reports. It's like I need to go out and get some fresh air because like it can mess with your like your mentality just reading all these negative, evil reports of cops doing things to people.
Yeah.
And like so many Americans are just blind to it, you know? And they
Well, I
or
think
they'll make excuses like, oh well, that's just a few bad apples, you know?
oh
Like,
Jesus.
oh
The bad
man.
apples arguments, man. Ah, Jesus. You know what? At this point, I don't even want no more damn apples, man. You know what? I'm boycotting apples, bro. I don't want to hear no more about them damn bad apples, bro. Listen, I'm eating oranges for the rest of my damn life, bro. I'm eating oranges. I'm eating radish. I'm eating cabbage. I'm eating damn broccoli. But apples, fuck apples. No more apples for me, man. I'm so sick of hearing about damn apples, man. Every time you bring up any kind of criticism of damn police officers, it's apples. God damn, man.
Imagine if we tolerated bad cops like we tolerate like bad pilots. Can you imagine that? It's like we don't tolerate bad pilots, but we tolerate bad cops when they have so much power over your life or anybody's life. It doesn't make sense to me. I think
I made a
we need
point.
higher standards. We need higher standards for police, you know? But yeah, it's crazy.
I actually I made a point like one video that I did. I said you know treat cops the exact same way you treat a Starbucks barista. You don't take shit from them. If they make your drink wrong one time, have you seen how people act, how they behave in California? If a Starbucks barista has the nerve, has the gumption to make a simple human error, you know, a simple mistake, you know, somebody who's just
Oh,
fresh out of goddamn high school, you know,
well, yeah, but
simple
but
mistake.
but police they have their firearm on them, so you know, so people are less likely to like tell them what they really think, you know. As a
Hmm.
matter of man, I was on the freeway the other day and I saw like a car pulled over. And when the cop was walking up to the car, he put his hand on his handgun. All right, right? I'm like and I think cops do that. I'm like why do they like do that? Is it like an intimidation tactic? Is it I don't know, but to me it doesn't bridge the gap of like the community to with the police when you have like this when you treat people like criminals automatically. Oh, maybe that person was a criminal. I don't know, but I mean, but they would do that probably to like innocent people too. So it's like I don't know, man. If you really want to bridge that gap, you got to stop treating like everyone like criminals, in my opinion.
I think that unfortunately with the way things are, okay, so let me explain to you why that probably won't change. You remember the whole George Floyd trial? Did you watch that?
No, I didn't watch it, but I did like
Okay.
read reports about it. So
Do you
yeah.
remember that white guy who had like the crazy mustache and he was like the policing expert, the use of force expert?
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, he said something on the stand that I thought was interesting. So he actually claimed that George Floyd could have been passively resisting by trying to stop Derek Chauvin by putting his knee on his freaking neck. That one statement shows you why it won't change because that's your use of force expert. That's what he's training people on. So understand something. That means that this guy is one of the most trusted use of force experts in the whole country, right? So if that's the case, that means that he's taught countless other officers that exact same thing. And then those officers went back to their departments and held classes teaching the exact same thing that he was teaching. Now,
Yeah.
it
That's
gets to the
crazy.
point. Okay, so we have a dissenter here, I think, Allison Mills. Let's see.
Camille.
Hi. Oh,
Hello.
I didn't mean to cut off my lights. I'm gonna turn them on. Hi.
Hello.
Um, I just wanted to join your conversation. As you're talking about community policing and like the like why that won't work. 'Cause a lot of people want to like add more training to police. Like that's their thing is like police just need more training. They just need to like know this, how to actually like approach citizens and stuff. But those kind of tactics will never work. I didn't get to hear what you were saying at the end there because it like kind of bleeps you out whenever I connect.
Oh, I'm sorry.
But yeah, no, it's okay. I just didn't want you to think I was talking over you. But
Oh no,
like,
you good.
the problem is, what Jamal was saying is that like, because you're criminalizing your citizens and your community, and also because you're like forcing them to fund the local government by fining them, you can never have a relationship with them. And also, when
Right.
you're using force, like you can never have like community policing. Like that
Oh,
relationship will never that relationship will never work. So like we've been trying, I say we, but like lots of agencies all over the United States have tried this community policing thing, over the past like 10, some 15 years, have been trying different processes of community policing, but they'll never work for that exact reason there, because police criminalize their citizens, and they're abusive, like they're violent. They are the violence of our state. So
right.
yeah,
Yeah.
like
And can I ask you a question?
yeah, yeah.
Just a quick question, because I always pose this question to everybody that I talk to.
Mm-hmm.
So, what do you think is the reason why people support police?
Um, there's a few reasons. Like part of the biggest reason is because of like propaganda, right? And this like, um, sorry, it's like a really difficult answer because like this is what I studied, but like since we were born, and I use we lightly because, um, for a lot of people, police safety is a privilege, right? Like for someone who is white like me, like, I grow up thinking that the police are safe and that they keep me safe, right? So for people like me, I'm taught when I'm growing up, that the police keep me safe, that they keep me safe from like the monsters out there. Same thing with prisons, that they lock up all the bad people and they keep people away. So like the government and police, and all of that, they like tell us this so that like we feel safe. But in reality, like they're not keeping us safe. So people think that police are out there like preventing crime. This is like one of the biggest myths that I try to like bust up on this app and like in my career. Like people think that police are out there like preventing crime, and like deterring crime, and solving crime. And they're doing very small amounts of that. Like, very, very small amounts. Like we've proven that, through tons and tons of research. So people think that they need police because they are holding on to this form of safety. But I don't know if you know, Miriam Kaba, but she wrote "We Do This Till We Free Us," and she wrote about how like security and safety are two different things.
Right.
And that stuck
I
with
like you
me.
point. I like how you pointed that amount. Can you just
Yeah.
briefly explain like the actual difference?
Yeah, so what she describes is like safety is kind of just like this illusion that like has been created for us. Kind of like I was explaining that like police safety is an illusion. Like we think that they're out there fighting all this crime, but in reality, like arrest and incarceration happen after the crime has occurred, right? Like crime is happening, like, and I say crime in like the legal context, right? Because I don't think that a lot of this stuff is crime, but like crime is happening all around us all the time, right? And but we think police are out there like actively fighting it because we've been taught that since we were like literally born, right? Like we watch this on television, we see this in the media. And again, I say we because I know that like we all have different experiences of what police are, right? Depending on where you grew up, depending on what your race was, ethnicity, all that stuff. But like, especially in America, like that's what police are supposed to do.
Yeah.
So like safety is an illusion, but what actual security is like feeling secure in your home, like feeling secure walking down the street. Like you're secure in that you're not going to be harmed, or that like nothing is going to hurt you, or that like, um, you feel like you can protect yourself in your community, or that you could like, um, participate in harm reduction or some type of like restorative or transformative justice. Like your community is strong enough to like take part in that. So that's kind of the difference. Like one is real safety and security, and one is like kind of an illusion. Is how I interpreted that.
I actually appreciate that. You know, honestly, I think you should put out like a video and just kind of like explain that, because that was beautiful, you know, because
Oh,
people
thank you.
don't understand the difference. You know, again, I think it's very important because I used to work corrections, and I understand the actual difference, and so I kind of understand like law enforcement. I understand like the effects of it, like what it does. I kind of feel guilty even being a part of the system. I understand the reason why I went in law enforcement might have been noble, but that doesn't excuse me going into it. But I do know that I worked inside a facility, whereas we only had the illusion of security. If those inmates wanted to take over the facility, they could have done it at any point, and that's the same. I mean, the same is true for any facility, no matter how secure. They outnumber you 10 to 1. You know, there
Yeah.
were some nights where I was one CO to maybe 100, 200 inmates.
Mm-hmm.
So what the hell
Yeah.
am I gonna do if they all decided to like rush me? Nothing. I'm gonna just get beat up. I'm gonna get Timberland boots. I'm gonna get some bobos upside my head. Okay.
and that
So
and right, like that's another part
yeah.
of this illusion, right? That like we label people, as we dehumanize them and call them criminals, and we imagine that like monsters are locked inside this like large building that we call a prison behind bars, right? And like that they're monsters, and like in reality they rule that place, and like if they wanted something to be different, like they could have that, right? And also like when they leave, again, like research and studies show that they are typically like in the same, like prison either like criminalizes them further, like criminalization is worse, or the same in most cases when they leave. Like we know that like prison is not a healthy place for anyone to be. I'm
Right.
like I do make a lot of videos, and if you didn't catch it already, I am for abolishing the police and abolishing prisons all the way.
Oh,
So
wow. You're
yeah,
extreme.
Okay.
yeah,
Yeah, as much as I dislike cops, I know I don't go as far to say like, oh, we need to just get rid of the police. I just want higher standards to be a policeman. I want a police to be accountable for their evil acts, because DAs, um, a lot of them don't want to prosecute cops for their misconduct, and they get away with it, and they know that cops can get away with it. And I want to abolish qualified immunity. I want people to have, I want them to have the ability to personally sue police officers for them violating their civil rights. I mean, why not? Why don't they get liability insurance like doctors do or nurses have, right? So you can personally sue them. But they're so protected, and that's the reason why so many police officers they just don't care about violating their civil rights, because they're so protected. It's crazy. I just want
Right.
more accountability and higher standards, and I think policing will improve drastically if that happened.
I have to ask you, Allison, a question.
mm-hmm.
Because you are a woman, and there's certain it's kind of a question that I can only really ask a woman, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, do you understand the reason why cops don't have to constitutionally protect you? The court case that decided that.
Oh yeah, I do. Yeah.
Okay, so you know about Town of Castle Rock v. Gonzalez.
Mm-hmm.
So, as a woman, knowing, in case people don't know, the audience doesn't know, we got 45 people like watching, so we probably gonna get a lot more. So, in case people don't know, the reason why that case is important, because there was a woman by the last name of Gonzalez. She had 2 daughters, and her estranged husband, she had a restraining order and a protection order against that husband. And that husband, when he went to go and get her daughters, she called the police and said, "Hey, I have an order of protection. He's not supposed to have the daughters. He's very dangerous." The police they actually ignored the call, did nothing, intentionally ignored the call because they had other calls they wanted to get to, and he ended up killing the 2 little girls. And so she decided to sue the town of Castle Rock and the police department, took it up to the Supreme Court, and the Supreme Court decided that in the United States Constitution there is no constitutional duty for police officers to protect you. So once again, that's the kind of explain things, but the question to you, Allison, is as a woman, how does that make you feel knowing that that was the case, that 2 little girls died and it was a mother who was fighting for that?
I mean, I might not be the right person to ask because I'm not like your everyday citizen, right? Like this is something that I study and fight for on a daily basis, you know?
Right.
And I don't trust police. I would never call 911 or I shouldn't say I wouldn't call 911 because that's emergency services, right? But like I would never call police unless it was something that I had to use that system for, right? We have to sometimes use systems that we don't agree with. Like, I mean, obviously, like, that is heartbreaking, you know, like, but it's also, I think, very shocking for people to hear when your literal, like, motto is protect and serve, right? Because that's what you're supposed to be doing, right? You're supposed to be protecting and serving your community. And it's also, I think that my only way to like approach this is kind of like point out the hypocrisy, right, that I see a lot of times in like society and this situation is because like a lot of the pushback that I get in these conversations is like, what happens if someone robs your house in the middle of the night? That's like their favorite
Right.
go-to for some reason, which is like, I don't know how many times these people have been robbed. It's very odd in the
You
middle
have
of
the
the night.
Second Amendment.
Or when the police showed up for that. But, you know, like that's one of their things. And then also they love to do the domestic violence route, which I have the stats on that too, that they're like, oh, weird, I didn't know. But anyways, so like in a situation like that, it's like, well, they don't have to respond to that. Like they don't have to protect you and they typically don't get there. So I guess my point is just that like people have been so, I don't even like to use the word brainwash, but it's true to think that that's what these people are for. And they're literally there to oppress mostly BIPOC and poor communities, but marginalized people generally. Like that's the foundation of policing, and they're meant to keep inequalities within our systems. And that's what they're going to do in the long run.
Someone asked, who are you supposed to call when your life is in danger? Well, we have the Second Amendment, Laura. So,
Well,
and cop,
can
yeah.
I ask a question though, to both of you? Just you, either one can just answer. Have you noticed? And again, with me being a gun guy, right? Have you noticed that because there might be an overlap with the Second Amendment community and people who support police officers, have you noticed that there's these fantastical scenarios in which they craft? Like, I will admit, as a gun guy, I've done it myself. That we craft these scenarios in which may not be the most common thing. Have you noticed that?
Yeah,
The same thing, yeah.
it's wild. First of all, they always assume that I want to take away their guns, which is not true at all. I'm against, like, I'm pro guns and I'm against restricting guns in any way. Like, I think that
Right.
gun laws are racist. I think that they're gross, and I don't think there's a good way to implement them. So they always push back on that. But also, like, people who are very much like, you're not going to take away my guns, you know, those type of people. Do come up with these like wild scenarios where like they should be using their gun to defend themselves, you know, like where their 2A right would come into action. So it seems very odd to me that like you have to make up the scenario where you would need the police. What is 2A for? If you know, like, why do you care if I take away your guns then? You know what I mean? It's like just very, like, do you know what you're arguing about?
Let me respond to Laura. I mean, she says, I have 2 kids, don't want to keep a gun in my house. Well,
that's fair.
You can pay for extra security. You know, I don't know. Put up a large gate. Put up get some dogs, get some pit bulls in your front yard. You know, there's so many.
Here's my girl right here. It's Aphrodite. She's 100 almost 140 pounds. She's my American bully. And yeah, if you get one of these, I don't think anyone's gonna break into your house anytime soon. I think you're good.
Well, I did. If it's okay, I did want to address something that you said earlier, Jamal, because you mentioned that you wanted basically like reform like I am for abolishing police, right? And like the reason that I want to abolish police and I say that we don't need them, I'm not saying that we don't need them right this moment. What I'm saying is that if we address the root cause of crime, which is poverty, if we start there and then build our Black communities around that, then we won't need police.
Yeah,
Um,
I think there's a strong correlation between poverty and crime, but even like rich people commit violent crime. So it's like, and I think we do need law enforcement. However, we can do a lot better when it comes to law enforcement. Just look at like some like northern and western European countries. Their policing is way better than America's, right? I just saw a video on YouTube of police in the UK disarm a man with a machete, right? Without using like lethal force. I'm like, what in the world? I'm like, how do they learn to do that? In America, they would not do that at all. That person would be shot like 20 times within a few seconds, right?
yeah,
So we can do much better with policing in America, but I, just people just I don't know what's wrong with America. Like we're supposed to be a first world country. We're supposed to be like uh, you know the best at everything supposedly, but when it comes to policing, it's like, eh.
oh, we're the best at very little. But I do want to point out, that like I am aware, and everyone on abolition, like in abolition, we are definitely aware that like people who are living comfortably or are rich do commit like crime or violent crime, but like um the majority of crime is committed because of poverty, whether it's directly because of poverty, like literally just like a robbery for money or a robbery
Yeah.
for items to sell, or if it's because of like desperation. Like earlier we were talking about domestic violence. If it's a situation where like someone is in a situation with their abuser because they don't have the resources or the finances to get out of that situation, and so now they're in a violent situation with their abuser, like that's an indirect like poverty issue. So like we have a lot of proof and evidence that like most of these crimes are related to poverty, and if we fund things like education, housing, food insecurities, restorative justice, transformative justice, harm reduction, mental health resources, addiction services, like all of these things that we are just pumping into our police departments and our prisons, like that would make a huge difference within our communities.
Mhm.
So
Okay.
like that, there would
Yeah,
be
yeah.
really no need for police at that point.
I just want to say something because it reminded me of a study I read. Police kill thousands of dogs every year. Did you guys?
Yeah.
Yep.
I would just want people in the audience, to people in the room to listen to this, that cops killed like without like a lot of times it's like without like any um like the dogs are not provoking the cops or they're not attacking the cops or anything, but cops will just shoot them because they can.
Mm-hmm.
And this goes on a lot, more times than people even realize. So, to all you dog lovers out there, cops are the big killers of dogs. I'm just saying, you could look it up. Go Google it.
Yeah, it's true. It's weird and gross, and like people will justify these things because
And did you know that more than 20% of the dogs were actually dogs under the age of under the age of 6 months? I mean, they were
That's
just
crazy.
puppies.
That's crazy.
I
Yeah,
didn't know
I saw a video. I think it was in Colorado where they abolished qualified immunity. Like this little dog was just like waving its tail at a cop, and the cop just
I
just
saw
shot
it.
the dog.
I saw that. Oh, it
And
was the
the
cutest
woman.
dog. It was I think it was a border collie and it was a collie and corgi mix. It
And the
was the
woman
cutest fucking dog.
and the woman was crying. She was like, why did you shoot my dog?" And now she's suing
Oh
the
no no
cop.
no, that was a yeah, that was the freaking TikTok video. Yeah,
Yeah.
that was the yeah. Yo, it was so crazy. I mean, that girl was tore up. She was like, "You killed my best friend." She's like, "That was my only friend." I was like, "Oh, you fucking asshole, bro."
And they're
Oh
so
my
brave, though.
God.
Like, police are really brave. They do a really, like, dangerous job where they have to be so brave. You know?
Well, here's the thing, right? I did a deep dive. I did a deep dive that actually got flagged. Believe it or not, got flagged a grand total of 18 times. That it got taken down 18 times since I put it up. And it's back up again for the final
I'm
time.
not surprised.
Um, yeah, but it was a deep dive into how police actually spend their time, and it's
Oh, yeah.
kind of like a one of a kind like type of video. Because
Oh,
I use some
I have the study
resources.
here. I have the study right
Yeah,
here.
yeah,
I was about to mention the
yeah,
study here. Um,
yeah. It
a,
was
a
wild. Go
review
ahead, man. You take it away.
A review of publicly available data in 3 areas revealed that much of an officer's job revolves around handling routine calls rather than violent crime. What share of policing is devoted to handling violent crime? Perhaps not as much as you might think. A handful of cities post data online showing how their police departments spend their time. The, the share devoted to handling violent crime is very small, about 4%. Only 4%. So I used to
Yeah.
think that cops were like out there like superheroes, just stopping violent crime, stopping criminals. But no, like the vast majority of time, it's just like it's not fighting violent crime.
Right.
No.
So I want you to understand what that actually means, right? That means that even if you bring up places like Chicago or LA or Harlem or any other place that's like really, really violent, right? That means that at that point, the criminals are quite literally killing more criminals than the police officers. So at that point, hire the damn criminals because they're more
Also,
efficient at
like,
it. So
54% of violent crime in the United States goes unreported. Like, whether that be because people are afraid to call the cops, they don't want to call the cops, they think they can handle it between themselves, they're
Mhm.
embarrassed, like, whatever reason. But, like, over half of violent crime is not reported.
I actually I had a debate with a young man who came into one of my lives, and I made him cry, and I felt bad. I actually messaged him. I actually followed him after the chat, and I messaged him, but I made him cry. He brought up the fact that he was making the argument that police officers do actually protect you, but later on in the conversation, because again, people don't realize that I do actually remember stuff, and I actually make a point to remember certain things that they say. So later on, he was giving his life story, and he was talking about how his mother would get beat up by his daddy, and I said, "Hey, did you call the cops every time?" And he paused. I said, "I win. So come up with a better argument. I'll be here next week." And he started
Okay.
crying, and I felt bad. I felt bad. I was like, "Oh shit!" I was like, I knew I was gonna get him, but I was like, okay, I had to pull back. Like, okay, maybe I went in a little too hard there,
It went from
But
cop talk to trauma talk real quick.
I think though people gotta think about that. I think that if they look at it like that, did
Yeah.
did you call the cops every time your mama used to get beat? I bet a lot of them would think about it because it
And why
happens a lot
didn't
more
he?
often than
Like,
what we actually
And
report.
yeah.
sometimes I think it's just not a smart thing to call cops, because cops escalate situations, and it's just makes the situation worse. Like for instance, like the whole situation with if you remember Elijah McClain, right? Some guy called the cops because he was wearing a ski mask, like walking home from buying some groceries, right? So Elijah McClain is like walking home wearing a ski mask, and he's wearing it because he has like some like medical conditions, like really cold, right? The cops show up and immediately they just like brutalize him, and he ends up dying. So um, it's like it, I don't know, man. So that's why I wouldn't call the cops unless it's like very, 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 very like serious situation. Like well, I don't know, maybe someone has a gun and just shooting up, some building or something like that. I don't know. Maybe I'll call the cops then, but in most situations I would not call the cops at all. I don't trust them.
And Penny
And
Lane here, and Penny Lane actually is going to back you up here. She says the two times I called the cops when I was being abused, they actually took me. Happens a lot.
Oh,
yeah, yeah.
yeah. I try to stress this a lot, and like specifically to white people, because like we don't experience this as often. Like, that's literal fact. Like, we know that. But like, it is unsafe for lots of people to call the police, and it is extremely unsafe for us to call the police on other people.
Yeah,
Like,
and it's spilling over into white America, man. And I think a lot more white people are, well, they already are. Like a lot more white people are starting to like, you know, be against the police. You know,
Yeah.
There's a situation where that one woman with I think she had like Alzheimer's, and I guess she was
Karen
like,
Garner.
yeah, I think she was like supposed to like shoplifting, and like they called the police and they just like brutalized her. I'm like, she's like an old woman. Like, what are you guys doing? Why are you guys treating
What
old women in such a way? Like, that's just crazy.
what pissed me off about that case was the fact that they were caught on camera laughing about it. I was like, that's what? Like
And
they
she's like, she's white. It's
so
like, whoa.
they claimed that she had no injuries, right? They actually wrote down a report. They broke her arm, all kinds of stuff. And then what makes it even sadder is that Karen Garner, she tried to actually pay for the stuff because she has dementia. So she actually tried to pay for the stuff, and Jesus Christ, she tried to crawl into the chair with me. Daddy, you can't get up here, baby. Get down. But she actually tried to pay for the stuff before she left, even though she had freaking dementia. That's actually remarkable, you know? She actually tried to do the right thing. So, like, I don't just blame the cops in that freaking scenario. I blame Walmart. Why did you call the cops? It was just, I think that she had took like some laundry detergent. It's like, bruh, $14 and shit. Really? Really? You gonna call the
Yeah,
cops on a 60-plus-year-old woman for some damn laundry detergent?
yeah, yeah.
That's, and you know, anybody out there who thinks that's cool, if you're gonna call the cops on somebody for $14, call me. I'll pay for it, bro. Seriously.
right. We
Yeah,
shouldn't be calling
exactly.
the police on people stealing. Period.
Listen, if
Yeah.
you that old and you taking laundry detergent, you are not in the best position in damn life. Trust me. You're probably not. Like, you remember that one guy, the guy, I think his name is Richie Richards, in Arizona. Guy that
Oh,
got
in
shot 9 times
Arizona?
and speaking back. My
In
thing is,
Arizona?
it's just like, yeah, like the
Yeah.
cop. I'm thinking to myself, why are you even pursuing this man? He's in a wheelchair. He's old as shit, and only thing he's accused of is taking a goddamn toolbox, bro. If that's the scenario that you facing, listen, take your toolbox. Um, God bless you. Let me call a social worker. Let me try to help you. But damn, man, over a toolbox, over stuff. Like
And
that's the most fucked up part about the country. We value stuff over damn life, man.
yeah. And this is why I advocate for abolishing, because like there's no retraining of police. Like they've literally
Mm.
like been trained to fear everyone and everything, and like we have like studies showed that like training, no matter what we try, is ineffective. They
Well,
also like have, what was that?
yeah, well, what about police in other countries like in like Sweden, Germany, you know, Norway, the UK? They have
Well,
way much better
Jamal,
policing. I mean, come on.
Yeah,
Some will
Jamal,
say
but
I'm
like,
gonna point
well,
something out to
America's
you,
nothing
man.
but violence.
our
I'm gonna point
policing,
something out to you, man.
Yeah.
I actually had people on Patreon, and I actually had to turn down because I don't take a whole lot of donations. I usually tell people to go donate to the vegan homeless because that's my whole passion. But people were actually asking me to cover stories from different countries, man. And if I really wanted to, I could do the exact same output for other countries as I do for the United States. And I'm averaging 4 to 6 videos a day. So the same problems that you see in America, you see in other countries, you just don't hear about it.
yeah.
Mm.
So like, there's two things on that point, right? Like, one, our like policing like function is based in white supremacy. Like, they are literally their like function is to oppress. Like that is what they were built for, was to keep inequalities in our system.
Yeah.
And so that's the first problem, right? Is that like the literal foundation is just bad. And that's why like whenever people try to say like, well, some cops are good, no, because officer intention does not matter when you are complicit in a system that is oppressive. Like, it doesn't matter if they join the force to like protect people, they can't do that when they're enforcing unjust laws. And then also, like, yes, the host is right. Like, a lot of those people, a lot of those places that you're mentioning do have unarmed forces. Like, they don't have guns, and they do have training in de-escalating situations. They are successful sometimes, but they are also very violent still. Like, there are cases where they still turn very violent. But like, we just can't retrain from like the foundation that we have.
Okay,
Right.
well, percentage wise, right? Percentage wise,
Mhm.
no industrialized, no first world country in the world kills more people. Um, cops kill more people than American cops, and that's just no other country even comes close to America when it comes to um,
Yeah. I
deaths by
mean,
cops percentage wise.
yeah,
So
our cops are fucking cowboys, yo.
I was literally reading this
If you
last
a
night.
dog or a black person or disabled person, you might want to avoid cops.
Police in the United States kill far more people than do police in any other advanced industrial democracies. Like, I
yeah,
literally was reading this
God
last night.
damn.
Yeah,
That's
we are
that is
absolutely
bananas.
the worst. Yeah.
cops are the
One
cops are the
this
sixth leading cause of death for young men. The sixth leading cause of death.
That's this study. 1 in 1,000 young black men can expect to be killed by the police. Like, peer review study right here. Same thing that you're saying though. Like, 6 leading cause. And for
Yeah,
everyone in
yeah.
the chat, the first one is heart disease, because I know that's going to be your next question.
Um,
Clinton too.
Megan
Clinton is a
M.
troll. I know him.
Hey, Megan M999, you have over 1,000 followers. You can join the guest request. The one thing I don't like is keyboard warriors, especially when you can come talk to me. So don't be a keyboard warrior. Let's come have a conversation, because you know it's going to happen if you have to have the actual conversation. Same thing happens
Okay.
every time. Now I don't want to make you cry. Because
What
you
Anyway,
Allison
because
is
I
I
don't
saying?
I
gotta get
don't.
going, guys. It was nice chatting with you guys.
All right, Jamal. Hey, Jamal, be up, man. Hey, and by the way, man, every time you come on, man, you be blowing my mind, bro.
All
It's
right, man.
crazy stuff.
So I'm gonna
Be
close with
safe, bro.
this. I don't hate the police, but I want changes, drastic change. I want real comprehensive police reforms. I want police accountability. Okay, so if anyone in here thinks I hate the cops, I don't hate the cops. I just want changes, real drastic changes. Okay, I've been victimized by the cops way more times than I have been victimized by any like random street thug. Truth, and I'm not a criminal. Okay, so I'm gonna leave off with that. Have a good night. Have a good morning wherever you guys are at. Take care. Okay.
All right, man.
Thank
Be
you.
safe,
Don't
man.
Please don't be mad at me.
No,
I'm not mad at you.
oh
Okay.
no, not Jamal.
Take care.
Jamal's yeah, yeah. Jamal's a sweetheart, man. He loves everybody. He's one of those guys. He's actually he's an actual Christian, man. He's never going. He doesn't even like to curse. Like, yeah, he can't even notice.
Oh.
So he's one of those good. He's one of those good guys. So how long have you been making videos on TikTok?
I started maybe like 7 or 8 months ago. And then I took
Okay.
like kind of a brief break because I like started back into school, and
Hmm.
then I just got back into it maybe a couple months ago, and I discovered like the live feature, and now I can't stop. I can't stop.
So
I'm addicted.
what is your primary type of content?
Prison abolition.
Okay.
I talk mostly about prison abolition. That's like my passion, but with that comes a lot of like police abolition, and of course like building solid communities. So it all falls into the same thing.
Okay. Okay. When it comes to prison abolition,
Hmm.
um, a lot of people have said, what do you do in the event of again, the mythical scenario? You have to address it. It's
Yeah,
you gotta
they love
address
the
it.
extremes.
So what's gonna happen when you get Jeffrey Dahmer, who is the love child between him and Megatron, the worst of the worst criminal ever, who's killed a whole city in like one swing. Where are you gonna put that guy?
Yeah, so like that person obviously has like some type of mental illness that needs to be treated. That doesn't mean that that person can be rehabilitated, right? Like that doesn't mean that they can be treated and come out like and be released, but they still deserve to have like mental health treatment in an institution. So they would likely be like institutionalized somewhere. They
Right.
would not be able, like people that are a consistent danger to society would not just be able to be destructive in a place where I want to build like and abolitionists want to build strong communities.
Now, I always thought that at best what you wanted was something like what Sweden has, like where the facilities don't look like prisons like they do here. Like I saw a lot of prisons over there. They look more like treatment facilities more so than anything else. Even though they're still a place where you can't leave, obviously, once you're locked up, you can't leave. But I find the recidivism rate in places like Sweden and places some places in Europe to be so much smaller. And people don't reoffend as often. And I find that assaults on guards are very, very low. Um, what say you to that kind of system?
Yeah, so I actually have a video about this, and like because this is what a lot of people say is like I would love to have a system like the Nordic model has. Their system does rely on what's called like an open it's like an open prison kind of thing, and what
Right,
they do is they allow like they humanize people, right, and they prepare them
right,
for reentry into society, and they focus on like low sentences. So like the average sentence there, if I remember off the top of my head, is like 3 months.
right.
But part of the reason why that system works for them is because they also like prioritize communities and their society. So they already like fund things like education. They focus on equity in their communities. Like they focus on healthcare. So like there's a lot of like stuff that happens in their society before that is focused on before people go into prison. So like a lot of the things that I'm already advocating for in building a society, they already do, which is why their systems work. And there's still flaws in their system. Like they have a lot of issues. No, I shouldn't say a lot of issues. They have some issues, but that's why their system works as well as it does, is because they prioritize their citizens before the process, right? So
Right.
they address the crime before they do preventative action and before it
Do you
gets there.
think? Oh, I'm sorry. I was gonna let you finish. Were you
Oh, I
finished?
was done. You're okay. Yeah.
Okay. The next question I was going to ask you, because again, I don't want to be like one of those dudes who just talk over the women, right? Because it happens a
Yeah.
lot.
Yeah.
I know
You're
it happens
okay.
a lot.
Yeah.
But the one question I want to ask you is, so when it comes to prison abolition, would you settle for a system that removes profit from it?
No. No.
Okay.
Um, because
So
like
you basically don't want the system that we have whatsoever. You want a completely reimagined type of system, whereas where we don't have prisons, whereas basically it's more of like a two-tier type of system, whereas you could either be you know released into the community to a more soft type of solution like a halfway house or something like that, or you go to a healthcare facility. Whereas if you keep committing crimes, it's clear you got something mental that's going on. Whereas a prison is not going to help you. Maybe a doctor can. Is that what you're saying?
sort of, yeah. So, the reason that I wouldn't settle for just removing profit is because the idea that like profit is the leading cause of problems or like the biggest kind of like monster in our prison industrial complex, it's a myth, really. Like for-profit prisons have been dying for a while. It's like 9% of prisons currently in the United States, and most of those companies that ran those private prisons now operate immigrant detention centers, which is
Mm.
still a form of confinement that we should be addressing, right? But it's not a
Yep.
prison in this context. But a lot of the profit that we talk about is actually just like profit that they're keeping inside of the prison to keep it running so that like that they keep their costs low. Does that make sense? So they take
Right.
the incarcerated person and put them working in the kitchen so they don't have to pay staff there. They make them do laundry and they pay them very small wages. So that's whenever I say like all prisons are for profit, that's what I mean. They're like keeping that profit in house so they keep their costs lower, even though we're paying an extreme amount of money to imprison people. It is slavery, yes. So like that's why I say I'm not settling for that. Another reason why I wouldn't settle for that is because prisons are extremely ineffective. Like they're not doing anything. Punishment is not accountability, and we are not benefiting society in any way by putting people in cages. They re-enter in the same like criminalized state that they were already in or worse the majority of the time, and that is not beneficial to them or society. And we know what we need to do to eliminate this problem for everyone. So like we're just doing something that makes absolutely no sense. Except for that.
Would you have a facility of some sort for people who are super violent?
So like I am so people have different opinions on this, right? I don't believe in capital punishment, and I don't believe in like inhumane punishments for anyone. Like you will find and I am not the gatekeeper of abolition, right? So I cannot tell I don't think I can tell people what it means to actually be an abolitionist. So you will find some people that don't believe in prisons, but they believe in capital punishment, and they can think that. Me personally, I don't believe in that, and I don't believe in locking anyone in a cage no matter what they've done. So no, I personally would not in my abolitionist society, but that doesn't mean it wouldn't exist. Or wouldn't allow them to harm anyone, though.
What would you do in the case of, and you got to go to that extreme because again, because that's unfortunately, and I hate this. I
know it. I get these questions all the time. You're fine.
Right. So let's say that you get an Epstein type. What do you do then?
I mean, so in my abolitionist society, someone like Epstein wouldn't exist because I would
oh shit.
Yeah. Like I mean, we're talking.
That took a turn. Oh Lord, she said, "I'm gonna eat his ass."
Yeah, I mean, like I wouldn't have people that powerful, or like we're talking about like breaking down like lots of governmental structures. I'm talking about things that will probably happen after I'm dead, right? Like this is a slow abolition thing that people are working on, like that is slow happening. Like people wouldn't have that type of power, but like that person would be placed in an institution. Like no one's gonna want to hear this, but like people that participate in those things like have a mental problem. Like that is an issue. But like the problem in that situation is that like it was enabled by power and money, and like that whole situation, like that shouldn't be able to happen in our government, right? Like no one should be able to have that much power and like influence and then like protection around it either. So that's
I did notice that you said that you were pro Second Amendment, and then you said he wouldn't exist.
Oh no, I didn't mean I would murder him. No, that's not what I meant.
That's not what you said, but that's how
No, I meant like people with that much power and influence would not exist. Like that would not be a part of like
the way it was the way you said it. Like you said it with a gun owner's confidence. So oh no, don't worry, he wouldn't exist. Like oh shit.
No, I don't believe in like capital punishment or anything like that. And yes, Greg, I do have a father. It was an immaculate conception. But if you found him, he has been missing for, I guess, about 3 or 4 years. So if you did find him, let me know.
The other question I want to ask you, about prison abolition. So when it comes to certain communities, what you got to think about is what's going to happen afterwards, right? Let's say that you actually get your goal, and I'm going to be different with, you know, like most people. I'm going
Mhm,
to say let's craft a scenario in which you accomplish your goal, right?
mhm.
I know for a fact there are certain communities in this country, and you probably are well aware of this, that rely off of prisons for jobs.
Yeah.
What would you do for those people? Because suddenly displacing all those people, well, we've seen what happens with that in the past 2 years, right? We've seen what happens with that. People suddenly just lose jobs. What would you do for those people?
I mean, like they can go find other jobs. Anyone I hate to sound like that, but like anyone who's profiting off of a system that imprisons people, that's gross. Um
Right,
like like that's just as bad as and I know that you said earlier you have a history in this field, and
yeah,
I do apologize to say this, but
yeah,
I also don't. But like it's still being complicit in the system, right? Like
right,
and like that's not to say that I haven't participated or been complicit in these systems at some point in
right,
my life. Like literally, like being me is complicit in some of these things. So, but like there will be other jobs manufactured by replacing prisons. Like when we invest in our education, we're going to need more people and support programs. When we invest in addiction services, we're going to need more people. If we educate those people and pay for their education like we should already be doing for our citizens, then they're going to have jobs to do that. If we need people for restorative justice and transformative justice, like you don't necessarily need to have a degree for that. Like we can, like there are certification programs. I've done these things online that are like $300 $400 a pop. There's no reason why our government cannot fund those so that people can learn restorative and transformative justice and harm reduction for their communities. You know what I'm saying? Like
right.
there will be plenty of roles in society that will be replaced by the by um, prisons being removed. Um, I didn't mean to be so harsh in the beginning by by just saying they can find another job,
Right.
but like there will be plenty of other roles for them to do, and I think more rewarding roles, right? Like I don't know, I've never been a correctional officer, but I don't know how rewarding that can be. I feel like it could probably be a very abusive and like energy draining career. Um, you
Yeah.
know?
Well, let me kind of explain the reason why I went into corrections. So, I wanted to go into some law enforcement because as a child, I experienced something very horrible by my older brother, and I had told the Richland. I come from South Carolina. I told the Richland County Sheriff's Deputy, Richland County in South Carolina, and I was laughed at as a child. Well, that older brother became a high school principal in South Carolina. So, as you might imagine, that's a bit of a problem. So, I decided
Mm-hmm.
that I felt rejected by my own country throughout my whole life. You know, I grew up in a very poor neighborhood that was so dangerous to the point where I watched my mother get shot in her back twice right in front of me when I was 4 years old. She survived, but you know, stuff like that happened like all the time. You know, so
Yeah.
I went into law enforcement hoping to change the culture. You know, because I'd seen so much corruption and everything else, and I grew up fearing the cops. Like we were so scared of cops that I remember when I was a child, there was a dead body that was like not that far from my house, and that dead body sat there for about 6 hours because nobody wanted to call the cops because they already knew that when you call the cops, um, they're gonna look for somebody who killed who might have killed the person, and why am I gonna risk my life for a freaking dead guy?
Of
You
course.
know, so that's how they saw it. And so I went into law enforcement to change things. I knew Richland County Sheriff's Department was so corrupt, and I was hoping to get like a foothold into law enforcement, and then go into being a freaking cop. When I went into law enforcement, that's when I saw how bad it was. I didn't. You can't see this stuff from the outside.
Mm-hmm.
You can't. Um, and so as an adult, I try to re-report my brother, and the way that turned out was that I got retaliated against because I had went after the sheriff of my city, and when I say retaliation, I got a son that I haven't seen in years. I lost a house. lost everything. And it's not an uncommon thing. And Leon Locke covering up rapes is not a new thing. I met a woman named Brenda Bryant whose daughter was gang raped and got an STD, and she was in an adult care facility. And if Leon Lott had investigated it as an actual rape, Richland County in the state of South Carolina had to take liability. Well, he covered it up. And so she took it up to the South Carolina Supreme Court in a case called Madison Bryan v. Babcock Center, and she won that case. And so that case has been used as a precedent in court cases across the country. Whenever there's a vulnerable adult in an adult care facility that is abused or neglected, that case is actually cited. It's been cited as far as the U.S. Virgin Islands. That woman's a hero, and no one even knows her name. Well,
Yeah.
that happened to her daughter, and then there was high school girls at Spring Valley High School in Columbia, South Carolina. Go ahead.
Do you mind just 1 second? Someone is screaming outside of my window, and I just want to check on what this. I'm so sorry. No, literally, like it sounds awful.
Wow. So it's but basically it's this basically what I'm trying to explain is the reason why I went in law enforcement. I criticize law enforcement because I used to work law enforcement. And my thing is that I saw so much corruption. I worked corrections in the state of South Carolina, but I met a lot of cops. I ran into a lot of cops. And when I talked to police officers, they would tell me stuff. They would tell me how they fabricated freaking evidence. They would tell me how they would lie to people. They would tell me how, they would pull people over for like no reason. They would explain to me why it was okay for them to get away with things because of their job. I always tell you the story, man. I was in Kandahar, Afghanistan, and there was a guy. Last name was I'm just gonna say his last name was Lawson. He's a police officer in Hampton, South Carolina. We're sitting in a bunker during a rocket attack, and it's when the Taliban were launching mortars, and we're getting shelled, man, shelled like crazy. And after the rocket attack, we're talking. Oh, I was giving a story, but I'll return back to that story. But basically, so with Brenda Bryant, her daughter Stephanie Bryant, um, there was a rape kit and everything, and Stephanie Bryant, she unfortunately, Leon Locke covered it up, and to this day, he's not, admitting anything. But there was more. There was more high school girls at Spring Valley High School who was molested by his own deputy, and coming to find out, he covered it up, and he's been sued 8 times at federal court, and he's lost all 8 times. So this would be the ninth time that Leon Locke has been accused of specifically covering up rapes. And I went into law enforcement to try to change things because it was the only way that I knew to fight back. It's the only way I could try to attempt to get justice, and I still haven't gotten it. And I live with this every day, and I don't know if I ever really get over it. I don't know if I ever really let it go. But if you go through my content, that's why that's why you see me obsessing so much over it, because that's what people living through trauma do.
Well, I mean, yeah, and also like, I think it really changes someone to like, especially going onto the inside and seeing like wanting to change it from the inside, right? And realizing that you can't, because that's something that people like to say all the time. Like there are good cops who go onto the inside to change and like make a difference, right? So I think that like for someone like you who, and it's also personal, right? Like,
Right.
um, it's traumatic, and also I don't think it's like obsessive in a bad way as long as you're being healthy about it, right? Like, I think this is
Yeah.
the right thing to do for everyone. Like, um,
The question that I want to ask you though, back to prison abolition.
mm-hmm,
So the other extreme that you're going to hear a lot, and this is the last extreme that I'm going to bring up,
mm-hmm.
is for people out there who are, let's say, they are not into consent, and you can't necessarily trust them around, women in particular. What do you do with those people?
Are you talking about rapist?
Yes, I
Uh,
don't want to just say that, but I'm just saying like the people who don't understand consent.
yeah. I mean, well, there's a lot of things we need to do with that for like, we need to hold them accountable, right? Which is something that we don't really do now. So there's that. We also need to talk about these situations more. There's this huge stigma around like sex and sex positivity and stuff like that. There's a lot of and when I say stigma, I mean like victim blaming and stuff like that. That's something that needs to be talked about. There's a lot of issues with like toxic masculinity and things like that. Those are things that like come into play with like harm reduction and restorative justice and stuff. So that plays a part into it. I mean, and also like there are like, I don't want to like, a lot of people feel like when I talk about like counseling things and therapeutic situations and stigmas that I am brushing off the seriousness of the situation. And that's not what I'm doing. But what we have to understand is that like punishment is not accountability. And that by punishing someone, you're not going to prevent something from happening another time. And we know that as a fact. So, if you don't hold the person accountable and you don't prevent the act from happening in the future, then what are you actually doing? Right?
Right.
So we're not trying to treat them, we're not trying to coddle someone like that. We're not trying to like, you know, be gentle with them. We have to actually address the root cause of the problem. And until we do that, we're just going to continue to have this issue. Currently, in the system that we're using, because like that's another thing people are just saying, so you just want these people to walk free. That
Right.
sounds wild to me. And well, I'll tell you, 88% of the people you're referring to currently walk free in our system. So like what we're doing is not working. And the
Right.
angle we're addressing it from is not working.
Right. So, but how would you get the? Oh, by the way, we have a new person here. Rant B Casey. What's going on?
Hi.
Yeah, I just got here. I have no idea what you guys talk about.
Right.
Oh.
She's a prison abolitionist. So Allison is a prison abolitionist, and we're just discussing some of the nuances when it comes to that. I just asked her a question of what would you do with people who don't understand consent? We're not going to say the R word, just the R action word. We're just going to say the
Great.
people who don't understand consent.
So, like, not just abortion, but just in general.
Right.
All right. No, please. I've only been here for 2 minutes. I'm not going to say anything yet.
Right. So, my next question to you, because I hear what you're saying, but one of the things that I would immediately think of is what do you do in terms of enforcement of keeping that person from doing that again?
Oh, I mean, there can be places for them to receive therapy. So, like, we're not talking about like the person offending and then just being in society. Is that what you could be in like a form of like a halfway house or like someone to like receive.
Can I intervene really
this
quick?
case?
What is this is about like being in jail or prison or whatever?
Right.
Yeah.
What was their crime? That way I'm on board so I can listen.
Let's just say they are the R. Kelly, the Bill Cosby type. Let's just say that.
Okay. All right. Keep going.
Yeah.
So like they wouldn't be roaming society, if that's what you mean, like to just like freely reoffend immediately.
Right.
If that's
So
what
you would have them in containment of some kind where they can't just be like outside of willy-nilly. Like for example, if you got somebody who's an Epstein type, you wouldn't just allow them like near like a school, right?
No.
Okay.
No.
Okay.
And also,
so go ahead.
This is where like your when you mentioned the Nordic model earlier, like the open prison setup where they have like it's basically like a small apartment, right? Like a kitchen and all that, so that they're like preparing for that. That's where this type of situation would come in.
Right. I only see this working if you expand gun rights considerably.
I don't want to stop them. Like I don't agree with gun control, and I don't.
Well, your system might actually work.
Yeah,
might actually work.
But also like, but
Actually,
also
in
like,
this
I know
situation,
that what was that?
nothing. I'm just,
Yeah.
I am nothing. I've only been here for 5 minutes.
Oh, okay.
Ask
No, I
me
just
in
didn't want
like
to interrupt you.
15. Yeah.
No, I mean, like, I know that like this subject is like kind of like something that people are like iffy about talking about, and that also like, you know, that the joke is we all have guns, which is true. I genuinely like agree with that, and I don't agree with gun control. Like, I stay away from that. Like I said earlier, I don't advocate for gun control for multiple reasons, but like um and people again think that I'm making excuses, like I saw it in the chat earlier, that I'm making
Right.
excuses, or that I'm justifying it, or that like
No, you weren't.
therapy and counseling is a joke. But like there's studies that show that even specifically with like the P word related to this topic,
Right.
I don't want to say it, but like that word specifically, when they put like clinics in different areas, specifically for people to come to get this help, right? So like someone struggling with these thoughts who have not acted on these actions yet, right? But like have thoughts of younger people, they came to get the help that they needed before acting. So like they realized that they were having something that was a problem,
Wouldn't that
and
be
they reached
different
out to get
though?
help.
I mean,
What?
wouldn't that be different? Wouldn't they have to do the act before going to jail, before they had the thoughts? I mean, I'm just,
This is not involving jail. This is
oh,
this is like, yeah, this was like a social like thing that they did to like prevent the action from happening, because that's what we're talking
okay.
about, is like preventative care. So like they
Right.
put these clinics in multiple places, and like to help this, and once the towns around them and the cities realized that these places were there, people were mad. They were like pissed off that like they would allow this therapy for people like that to be there. And so once people who would typically receive this type of therapy like found out that they were mad, they stopped going to receive the therapy. Like preventative care stopped. So my point with this is just like the data shows that the stigma keeps people from receiving the therapy that they need to prevent these actions from happening. And so that's why like I take these conversations very seriously. Like these are not excuses. Like we literally shrug off preventative care for children in these situations. And I don't mean that you personally, either one of you personally were, but like people, you can see it happen all the time, and people in the comments were sounding off. But like it's a really important thing that we do not do, that we have to like talk about. So yeah, sorry, I got off on a
Well,
ramble, but it's really important.
but I just got a question though.
Yeah.
The problem that I'm running into, right, is
Mm-hmm.
I just, what do you do with people who are a clear danger to society, and they're always gonna be, no matter
You
how much therapy you
institutionalize
give them?
them. Yeah, you
Well, isn't that just
institutionalize
the
them. We
same
already
as like
said that.
isn't it just like a different prison?
I mean, it's humane. Like our prisons currently are inhumane. Like you worked in one, you know, they're
Right.
awful.
Yeah,
Like
I
they're in a
understand that. I understand that. The problem is I've also
yeah,
seen how adult care facilities ran, because I just told you about the
fair.
story of Brenda Bryant, right?
Mm-hmm.
So the problem is
Absolutely.
that I think you just I think that I think that you have your heart in the right place, and I think that you have a good idea. I think that you could live in a society like this. The problem that I think you're going to run into is that, unfortunately, there are a significant amount of people, because of the neglect that we've given to the American people in terms of mental health care. There is a not insignificant amount of people who have serious problems, who
Mhm.
cannot be around a lot of other people because they will literally become violent.
Yeah,
Um,
that's why I say this
uh,
will not happen. This
I
will
have
likely not happen in my lifetime. This is why me and a lot of other people are working towards a system that will create this. Why we have to start with addressing poverty, because if we start with
right,
addressing the root of the cause and build this society up, stop ignoring those issues, then we won't have that issue anymore, and we don't have to rely on locking people in cages and just dumping these
right.
people back into society. So
Well,
like
I'm
I'm
not
not
I'm not
against.
for that. I'm not for, excessive prison sentences. I'm not for that. However, what I am for is separation from society. Like, for example,
Yeah,
if
but
you
also,
can't stop touching kids, you can't be around us.
But in that case, like I'm trying to understand, like where, I mean, I'm all about like the majority of people who have the same morality belief. Like if it's that case, like when it comes to pedophilia, like if it gets down to that, that's a majority type of feeling. And the majority literally goes, okay, that's too far. Like that's farther than burglary, that's farther than this type of thing, that's farther, you know what I mean? So when
okay,
the
yeah,
majority actually goes, okay, that's too far, and I honestly agree that that's pretty goddamn far down
okay,
down the
hold
rabbit
on.
hole. So
Yeah,
you can't put them in the same concept of like somebody who robs people, somebody who steals cars. Like, I mean, it's like a majority wins kind of thing.
okay. First of all, I never ever said that that action was okay, nor did I equate it with other crimes. So I
I know
think you
you just
got
you
that a
made it
little
as an
twisted.
example, and
What
I
I did
okay.
what I did say was that instead of just letting the crime happen, we should be doing preventative care to stop it from happening, because we have
Okay.
lots and lots of data and proof that shows that we can prevent a lot of it from happening. So why are we not taking preventative action but instead letting that happen to children? That's
Well,
what
the
I
first
said.
the
I did
first
not
thing would
equate.
be
Hold on,
not
please let me
having
finish.
them
I
in
did not.
neighborhoods.
What was that?
The first thing would be not letting them in neighborhoods, like like
That's
like
not,
big
that's
neighborhoods.
stranger danger. That's a moral panic. Like the majority of child SA happens from family and friends. So like that's a miss.
Like
Like
pedophiles
major.
are totally fine. Okay.
What was that?
Oh
I
no,
didn't hear you.
letting
I'm
them
sorry.
in because of statistically kids are SA'd by family and friends, so it's okay to have, what is the word? SAs. Sorry, SAs in the area because they're strangers, so that it's statistically never happens in that town when it is
No,
a
what I'm
stranger.
saying is you're focusing on the wrong problem by like saying that like
I'm
we
literally just
should move
focusing on
these
what I
people.
came in to listen to. I'm sorry. I'll be quiet again.
No, like I don't mind you contributing to the conversation, but like we can have like a civil conversation. I'm just like pointing out that what you're saying is like not productive to stopping the problem that we're talking about. Like if the majority of the SA is happening inside your communities, then preventing people from coming into those communities is not going to prevent the problem. Like the problem is coming from inside the house, then we need to prevent that. Like
Right.
if you're like that's the problem. So that's all I was
I,
pointing
I
out.
I see what both of you are saying. I think a good solution is kind of like this. We kind of gotta look at it like we look at COVID, like getting the freaking vaccine, right? So getting the vaccine is the equivalent of trying to address the actual root problem of crime and everything else. But you do have those breakthrough cases. And for those breakthrough cases, you got the ER, which is a place to put these people when that doesn't work.
Yes, you're
So
also
that's
talking
how
about, yeah, you're also talking about a very small population of like
right,
prison, like a prison population right now. So like you're
right,
talking about like less than 10% of people that are currently in prisons. So like we wouldn't need a massive amount of people, like places to put these people, and also if we address root crime, like that amount of people would drop.
right,
So like like we're talking about like the amount of people currently based off of what's happening right now, um,
right,
instead of talking about preventing it. You know what I'm saying?
right.
Yeah.
Right. And I do think that for that part of what you said, that is kind of weird. It's very weird that we don't invest in anything that keeps people out of prisons. It's very weird.
Yeah. Well,
It's- yeah.
it's it's weird, but it's not weird if you think about it in the context of like why police and prisons were created in the first place, like literally to control certain populations of people. Like if like we talk about the history of that, like it's not weird, but like in this day and age, like yes, it's weird why we don't invest in our communities and like the people
Right.
in them and prevent harm from happening. We
Right.
like literally just let it happen and then lock people away and then release them and let it happen again. That's all.
Do you think is the bigger problem, police or prisons? I mean, which comes first? I mean, do you think the problem is first?
Like if I had to abolish one before the other, which would I go
Right.
with?
Right. The answer's easy
I
for
mean,
me.
I would probably abolish police first
Yeah.
because like the people that are currently incarcerated are extremely damaged, like whether it be from like the harm that they've experienced from the outside or like the harm they've experienced on the inside or like both, right? So like eliminating police will prevent that harm from going further and prevent the violence that's happening in our communities, and then we could like heal the people that are currently incarcerated and create a better rotation. Yeah, so if I had to choose, I would go for police first. But that's yeah. No one's ever asked me that one before. That's a good question. That's one I've never gotten. What was that?
So.
Oh, good. No, that was
So,
awesome.
Yeah.
Casey, I'm curious, Casey, what is your content? This is the first time I think I've interacted with you like personally. What is your content, and what do you focus on, and why do you love TikTok?
Honestly, I just started getting into debates like 4 days ago, and I've been like super obsessed, and I've had a lot of fun. But if you go to, this is my backup account, but my other account, like it's just like spirituality, witchcraft, like it's completely separate from debates. But I haven't had a chance to make a video because I've just been so wound up in debates for the last 3 days. So I'm sure I have a lot of content to make, but no, my content is literally just like witchcrafty stuff, abusive narc people, and just talking shit to my commenters that troll me. Like that's all it is. That's all it's like. I've been on here for like 2 years, dude. I had my first account was banned at 140,000. My second account was banned at 150. I have another account that I can't do this on for the next like 5 days. So this is my backup account. But if you go to my content, it's literally completely obsolete to what we're doing right now because I just started doing it.
What do you usually debate? Like what topics do you tend to go for?
Pro-choice, abortion's really fun to debate. This is actually kind of interesting. That's why I'm listening more. The vaccine. No, that's what it was. I was literally sitting in a they were anti the vaccine. I was literally just sitting as a guest, just like doing this, and then I got reported for misinformation for a whole week.
Yeah, just from associating. Listen, I don't know how you get on and debate men about pro-choice because it's exhausting, and I'm so sick of seeing it on this.
No, I finally found a way.
I'm a man. I'm sick of it.
Just they get on my nerves. I'm so sick of seeing it.
The whole like right to life fucking bullshit. I finally found a way to just dig it into the ground, and I finally just told everyone. I'm not even going to it, but just like, look, your whole like when does life happen is not my goddamn problem. Morality is fucking subjective. I know you don't fucking like that word, but deal with it.
Careful with language because you'll get the host banned.
No, check it out.
I never get banned.
I just want to ask you a question. I want to ask both of you this question as speaking women, right? Yeah. Do you find it weird that some of the same men bitching and whining about child support are also wanting you to not have a freaking abortion? Wouldn't that solve your problem? Like,
no, that's a control thing. That's like, what woman has right over another life? Woman should not have control. I don't like the idea of women having control when I can take control. I must argue it.
Yeah, they're
that's
just
literally all it
is. They have there's like no logic to most of their arguments. It's like, I'm so sick of just like, there's so many better things to like worry about and advocate for.
What is the most frustrating argument that you've heard in terms of like someone being like pro-life? The most frustrating one.
When does life happen? It doesn't matter. I'm pro-choice. What do you mean? It means that life beliefs they're subjective. You can look it up. It's not fact. I literally start out with going, do you believe that when you change policies, you need to base it primarily on fact? They say yes. I'm like, okay. Do you understand that your belief, whether you believe it or not, is subjective because it's not fact? It's an opinion. They say yes. I'm like, okay, shut the fuck up.
It's not even that for me.
No, because the idea of being pro, what they do with the whole like life thing is they try to push you into a hole of saying, oh, you're not pro-life, you're pro-abortion, when really you are pro-choice. What people need to do is get out of the whole like life, because they all say that. Like, that's the thing that annoys me. They all fucking say, when do you think life starts? Sorry. When do you think life starts? I'm like, it doesn't matter. That's the beauty of pro-choice, because everybody's morality of life is different. We've already established it's an opinion. What better way to satisfy the masses by letting them all respect their effing opinions, because they're not facts? And he was like, shut down. I'm like, look, yours and everyone else's is respected. Do you really see the government literally going, eeny, meeny, moe, that guy's beliefs? They don't do that. It's all about the masses. And everybody's like, there's so many studies out there that say scientists, doctors, it doesn't even fucking matter. Sorry, it doesn't even matter. Like, they all have like separate, there's like literally like 7, 8 to like 10 different concepts of when life begins between 0 and 9 months. So they've literally said it's obsolete. It's an opinion. There's no factual evidence to support any claims. It's an opinion, and it's respected. And I told the guy, I'm like, look, your belief is still respected, and so is everyone else's. So what's your problem? Like, everybody's respected. Yeah, he lost it up that. But like, that's it. Like, whenever like everybody else, like the whole fucking life thing, the whole life, like, when does life begin? I'm like, it doesn't matter. My concept of when life begins is not the point. I haven't even told anyone when I feel like life begins. When they like try to get everybody into the rabbit hole, I'm just like, dude, stop. He's trying to make you pro-abortion. You're pro-choice. It's not relevant. It's not relevant. And they all say that. That's like their whole like argument. And like, well, when do you think life begins? Oh, well, and then they go into this, oh, well, what about a tree? What about, are you, like, it's just this weird fucking rabbit hole. I'm like, dude, it doesn't matter. Like, at all. Like, it doesn't. Like, I mean, from a political standpoint, if it's not fact, it doesn't matter whether I believe in your belief or not. Like, it's irrelevant until it's fact. Once you show me that it's fact, it'll be relevant. But until then, it's irrelevant. I respect it, but it's irrelevant. So that's it.
Right. That's why I say I try to be quiet when it comes to these conversations, honestly. Allison?
No, that's what I did. I fell into the rabbit hole once, and I was just like, hold on a second. I started to write it down, and I looked at it, like, morality is completely opinionated. So just ask them, well, do you believe fact over opinion is more relevant in a completely dismantling a policy than opinion? And they'll always say yes. And then you throw in, okay, well, morality has been, there's no factual idea. Oh,
Daddy, she wanted to mess with me the whole time.
he's puppy pups.
So why do you think there are so many men in particular who want to tell women what to do with their bodies?
Control.
You think that's the only reason?
I think a lot of the men, and I don't mean to like put them in a bubble, but there's, from what I've seen, and I'm kind of I've cued into like men who do this. I've seen men who actually care about kids. I've seen men who actually don't. And these men are so insecure, and they don't like the concept of a woman being in control. Like, it's literally that. It's weird. Like, I literally talked to a guy where I dumbed him down so far where I said, okay, like, and we were in a group chat. It was like, there's like 400 people in there, and we all, there was like 2 other girls, and we were like, all right, let's say this. Like, he was diehard. He's like, no, baby's more important. And I was just like, okay, what if your daughter was SA'd, and if she had their baby, she would die? And like, he stuck to his guns. It was weird. And all of us disconnected. It's like, it's not even about like,
are you serious?
Obviously, they would never actually do that. That's the weird thing. They would never do that. It's all about looking cool and superior and in control. Like, who would do that? Nobody. No one. And they know that. Yeah, on live. He said that. He said that on live. Yeah. Not even joking.
Do you have that recorded?
No, but there was like 2 other girls, and they were just like, dude, bro, we're gone. Like, there's no reason to argue with you anymore. Like, at all. But he was like, dude, like, he's just like, yeah.
I'm going to head off of here, but thank you so much for having me. This is a really good talk.
I would love to have you back, though. Will you be back? Absolutely.
Yeah,
awesome.
Sure.
Awesome.
Yeah, let's do it again soon.
Sorry, I didn't mean to be like weird.
No, you good.
No problem. Bye-bye.
You're good. Bye-bye. Be safe. All right. So tell me about witchcraft. So now we can make a little, transition because
witchy.
Let me drop your ad real quick. Let me put it in the chat.
Yeah, no, me too.
Let me go to follow her.
Oh, ACAB devil.
Yeah. So I do mostly police. I do a bunch of police reform stuff, but I happen to be a little bit into witchcraft. I'll say.
You're like the Black Jack Bauer. You're a loose cannon.
And my fiance, she is, oh my gosh, she's witchy as hell. Everything is, everything pretty much is about magic with her, and I gotta say, it pretty much works with her because she prayed herself and she cast a lot of spells into success, and she makes 11 grand in like 3 weeks. So I mean, that's what she averages. So you know what, whatever she's doing is working. But tell me more about your craft, though.
I started doing tarot readings. I'm trying to affiliate. I'm a Satanist witch. And a lot of Satanism doesn't believe in like spirits. I don't really believe in spirits. I do tarot readings, and I do a really good job at it. I was scared to do it, but like I've gotten a lot of good feedback, so I do that for a living. But Satanists for the most are basically just obnoxious atheists. Yeah. But I love it. It's like my niche. So I like I delve into it. But
what's the guy's name? The Satanist guy. The Vade. The Vade. Is it kind of like that? Oh, okay. So it's kind of like you believe that you are almost like the god, right?
No, we basically are our own gods. Like our lives.
Okay, yes, that's kind of what I meant. Yeah.
Our children can't thrive if we don't put ourselves first, kind of concept. Like we are.
Okay.
This is
okay.
Like make it the best of everything. Don't take advantage of anyone. But the only difference between Christianity and us is if they punch you, punch them 3 times. Don't turn the other cheek. Fucking knock them down.
Have you noticed the rise in witchcraft? Like it's mainstream.
Oh, I know, it's crazy. No, when I was in high
school,
I'm 37, dude. When I was in high school, I saw the craft, and we had a secret club because we would have gotten made fun of. Like it's crazy. Which is kind of scary though, because there's the 80% of the stuff that I see is just like I'm like no.
I walk around with this jacket on, right, and it's kind of like a customized jacket because like my patron is Valifor from the Art of Oration, and and so I walk around with this little patch on the jacket, and everyone always asks like, what the heck is that from? And so it's like the King of Thieves, right? And so pretty much I follow a very specific type of magic, whereas like I don't really go beyond Solomonic, like types of magic where I do for self-improvement, some things for the future, some things to grind. I do certain things here and there, but what I mainly focus on is self-improvement. So how do you feel about witchcraft being used as a tool for self-improvement more so than it being used for anything else?
I think that people need to realize that it's a give and take when it comes to that. You need to become vulnerable. Like you can't just ask the universe for whatever. And like I appreciate concepts like we don't worship the devil, we don't worship Satan. Like Satan is just a concept of our belief system. So we appreciate those things. We can call upon those things, but we don't worship them. So the point is like people need to realize that they can't just pray. Please give this to me. You need to vote. You need to open yourself up. You need to like put in the work and show that like vulnerability is one of the most amazing gifts you can give to the universe. And if you can't do that, then you're not gonna get a wish fulfilled. Like you need to do that. You need to become vulnerable. Like vulnerability is probably the most growth you can actually have as a person. Like
Right. I think one of the most important things for anyone, looking to get into this, I call it a belief, but really I call it lifestyle. Really, if you want to get
it's a very basic belief system. I mean, belief is such a like, oh, you believe in something? Well, yeah, we kind of all believe in something. Like we're whatever you want to call it.
Right. So what I look at is I look at it as more of a lifestyle. And one thing I encourage everybody, whoever wants to get into this, is to set a goal. What do you hope to get out of this, and what are you willing to put into it? And kind of write it down, and kind of, if you could imagine it as like a scale. Look at it as what you want to get out of it, and how much are you willing to put into it, and decide if this is the lifestyle that is for you.
And that's the key, though, that people don't realize is what do you want to put into it? Because there is a lot of work and a lot of time and a lot of yourself that comes into it. And I don't think people realize it's not like, oh, so I need this candle, I need this herb, and I need this incense, and then I do this. Like it's not like I don't even fathom with that shit. I improv all of my spells. Like once I do the spell, I write it down. I don't go and like look for spells and be like, oh, I improv all of it. And once I'm done with it, I write it down.
What are some of the common misconceptions that people have about witches that you want to that you wish would go away?
Threefold fucking law. Jesus Christ. I mean, everybody's allowed to believe in something, right? I'm still holding on to the belief that everybody has a moral belief in everything, but telling everybody that it's going to come threefold back at you is wrong, because black and white magic does not exist. It is all magic. The karma that comes back to you is because of you. It's because of the way you perceived what you did that's going to come back. So if you do a curse or a hex on someone and you start to feel guilty about it, that's your threefold law.
Right. Because some people can use magic and not a whole lot of bad shit happens to them.
I mean, King Henry VIII, great point.
Yeah.
So what is died with like, I don't know, 10 different prostitutes?
Do you feel that you being a woman makes witchcraft harder in terms of how the public perceives you?
No. I mean, honestly, I would feel weird about saying that, like, I think it makes me better. I don't know. Really? I honestly think it's the one thing that, I mean, it's a very feminine type of belief, religious, whatever. Right. It is, because it expresses vulnerability. So it's a feminine thing. Right. So women are empowered by that, and it makes them feel more empowered. And I mean, I think it's cool. Like I know a lot of male witches and they're fucking amazing, but like, it's a very feminine thing. Like it really is. Like vulnerability is a feminine energy. So I'm honestly
curious.
Yeah.
Do you think that there could actually be a male witch in like the truest sense, in terms of the roots of witchcraft? In terms of like the truest sense of like the very spirit of witchcraft. Do you think that to cast any proper spell you kind of need a woman, really?
No, not necessarily. I'm just saying feminine energy can come from a person that considers himself a male or a female. It doesn't matter. Feminine energy is mostly considered feminine, and everybody has feminine whatever they call it in tarot, feminine energy. It's a feminine energy thing. So men will perceive it as a feminine thing. So you won't see as many men coming over to the craft as you will see women, because women are like, emotion? Let me in. We can do that because like we can do that, right? We put emotion into everything. We put emotion into sex. We put emotion into talking. We love that. And to be able to use that as an expression of power. Yeah.
That's gonna work. So I'm curious, what are some things in the craft that you wish you wish that other witches wouldn't do that annoys the fuck out of you?
Started doing spells right away. Read everything, because there are so many paths. I started out as Wicca, and honestly, I actually tell people, as much as I don't gravitate towards Wicca, I respected it for giving me basic ideas. So anybody who's completely benign of what witchcraft is, my buddy, my dog.
Yeah, her name's actually she's actually a girl. Her name's Aphrodite. She's a big girl. She's an American bully. I'm actually gonna start breeding these big boys because
where do you live? Where do you live?
Washington State.
I'm in Oregon.
Oregon. Oh, so you're over there near Portland land.
I don't need another big dog. I'm not gonna. No. I just lost
no,
my
I'm actually gonna start like breeding.
Yeah,
I'm actually gonna start breeding within like a year and a half or so. Me and my fiance, she's getting some. We're finally gonna finalize this deal on this property, and we're probably gonna start breeding them. But back to witchcraft though. Is there any books that you would recommend that I read in terms of to like brush things up?
Oh my God, anything by Aleister Crowley. Like, I mean, yeah, anything that's by Anton LaVey. I mean, it's good, but it's not. Aleister Crowley is a little bit more poetic and more, I don't know, because Anton LaVey is just like, like it doesn't make any sense. And I mean, I like the guy, but like he's obviously got like the ADHD part of it down. But Aleister Crowley,
yeah,
definitely, and Joseph Campbell. Joseph Campbell was a historian on every religion, like to the T, in like Middle East and those two. But
yeah,
Aleister Crowley,
I do like Crowley. I do like Crowley because I'm wearing. I'm sorry.
Do you have a specific book recommendation for Joseph Campbell that you noticed that you mentioned? I mean,
oh God, it's been forever. All I know is that Joseph Campbell's everything. Joseph Campbell. He does a lot of stuff for Asian religion. I don't even remember the books. It's honestly been like 15 years since I've read them.
There's a few books that I know my fiance has around here that I can show you that she reads that you should probably check out. Let me try to find a few. Here's a Warrior Goddess Training. It's a companion book. And it's something that a lot of people use for self-empowerment, but she uses it a lot for her craft. It's not anything particularly witchy per se, but it's something that you can just use for everyday life. It's something that's particularly good for women, for self-improvement, for confidence, and everything else. So I'm just showing with the book like
Warrior Goddess Training. Oh, those books are great.
Yeah. That book is pretty good. I actually read it. I found it pretty helpful myself.
Does she have any like there's a publication that actually puts out like really thick like spell books. Hang on.
Oh yeah, she's got. Oh my God, let me see if I can just walk into the bookshelf.
They're like encyclopedias. They're really cool.
Yeah.
So
my most of these are spell books.
I don't know if your mom ever practiced.
Julia, here.
A good bit of these are spell books. Let's see, which ones are spell books?
Can you hear me?
A crap ton of them here. I can hear you. Where are they?
Hey, hey, Cap, really quick.
Yeah.
She was into like all the author I just put in there. Write that down. This person, if she doesn't have these books already, she needs them. They're like encyclopedias of different. There's like one that's like just spells. There's one that like has terminology, but they're like this thick. They're like encyclopedias.
Oh, here's another one that you might want to check out. That's a pretty good book right there.
It's the Untitled, though, isn't it?
I think. I'm not sure. I'm not sure. I didn't. Oh no, that's not. That is the same one. Hold on. I'm trying to look for this stupid books. She's got a million books here. Oh my God. Is this
Cool.
I love this girl, but she got books on books on
No,
books. Where's
I
our
wish
mercy book?
my ex-husband would have like promoted how cool I was as a witch instead of assuming that I was
Where the
crazy and
heck
my husband.
where the heck is my spell book at? So I know I had one. But anyways, so are there any other books that you recommend in terms of people who are just getting into the craft to learn more
Just
about it?
well, like I said, I am not a huge fan of Wicca, but anything Wicca related, not Gerald Gardner, Scott Cunningham, like people who are just getting into witchcraft, I always tell them to start out with Wicca because Wicca is very basic. But just it's very rule oriented, but it gives you kind of a concept. That's what I started out with. So I would say Scott Cunningham, but just take pieces of it and then go to something else if you so desire. I mean, if you like Wicca, that's your thing. But
So
I
I
don't
had
know.
a
I feel
question
like
for
it's kind
you.
of a
So let's discuss spells. What's your favorite spell and why?
my favorite spell. Binding.
Yeah.
Binding is my spell. I love binding.
And if people want to see my book of shadows,
No. I want to show mine too. Oh, that's so cool. Wait. I've never done this on. I've never showed anyone in 3 years I've been on TikTok. I'm going to
Is
show
that like
mine.
personal journal?
it's mine. It's pretty cool. I thought it was nice. I got it from Amazon. And anything could be a book of shadows. You don't have to get no fancy book of shadows, man. You don't have to. It could be a notebook. It could be a
I
notepad.
had a lot of things to put in. Here. How do I redo this? Oh, there it is.
See, I always wonder, I don't think my mom ever had any of that kind of stuff. My family like took all her stuff when she passed away, but I know
Oh.
that she kind
No,
of
this
was
is the cool
interested.
part. Is like I'm actually excited to give
But I
this to my
never-
kid when I'm old because I want her to add
I
to
never
it.
got to understand where she's
Wow.
Like
This is
it's
actually
so
really
much.
cool.
Oh yeah, you bound that yourself? It's like
There was a girl on
conglomeration.
YouTube who made them. Her name was like Samantha Valen, I think. And I was just lucky to have one. And she was basically just
I'm trying to do something like that for my gardening, like collection of
yeah, and it's mostly
gardening.
just like as memorable things to like give to my kid when I'm older and she can have it and like put more into it. She's really into like healing magic already and
How many spells you got in that thing?
a lot. Some.
Jesus.
I got some.
I feel embarrassed right now. God damn. I thought I was doing okay. Apparently I'm
You're doing
behind.
great. I never showed off my big book before. I haven't added to it in so long. This was like me adding to it in like the first 3 months, and then I went into mom mode and I forgot about it.
So hey, Casey, can I ask you a question?
Yeah, of course.
That's why I joined. I just wanted to ask you a question. So like my background, I identify as a Christian. I didn't grow up in church though. So like, I'm not like the stereotypical Christian, I guess is what you would say. I have a relationship with God. That's just something that's personal for me.
Thank you. Thank you for saying that. Yeah.
So, but something that you said was like, oh, Satanism and Christianity are like the same. And the only thing that separates you is that or they turn their cheek or whatever, and we hit them back 3 times or something like that. But I can't guarantee I'm really going to turn my cheek. I mean,
Well, that's fine. That's yeah.
But my question was about the witchcraft, because the Bible says rebellion is witchcraft. And so, and my view would be, okay, so the only thing that would really classify or qualify as rebellion, from my viewpoint, from my belief standpoint, that rebellion would be anything that goes against God. And you're saying you don't go against God, like you believe all the same stuff. Just like binding, I believe, you can bind whatever you bind in heaven's bound on earth, and I can pray, and effectively that's like a spell, I guess, what you would call a spell. I'm calling it a prayer of protection or.
Yes, thank you. Yeah. No,
So
it really is.
it's
That
interesting.
basic.
But so what's your take on rebellion? That's what I was going to ask you about. Like, how
I
would you
think
define rebellion? Or excuse me, how would you define witchcraft? Because I define it as the Bible defines it, as rebellion. So yeah, that's my question.
you should honestly, like, I'm not trying to avoid the question at all, but you should read the 7 tenets. Like, there's literally the point is that your worshiping of yourself literally holds no merit to the rules of the tenets. Like, the tenets don't say you need to worship yourself, you need to do this for yourself. It's literally just, it's very basic rules that any of us would agree on, except for I think 2. One being, if somebody F's you over, you don't just turn the other cheek. That's like the only one I can think of right now that was different from the 10
You want to hear
commandments.
something that I think is profound that came to my mind when you said that? Is the idea of loving oneself. I think it's overlooked a lot for Christians, because the thing is, God tells us as Christians, because we're listening to what he's telling us, to love your neighbor as yourself. Okay, that means you have to love yourself. And in
No,
order
that
to love
means you
your
have to love your
neighbor as
neighbor,
yourself,
even if they screw you over, they lie to you, they demoralize you, they lie about you. Like, he's just like, nope, it's all about me. It doesn't matter how hard you were hurt. It's all about me. Just let it go. I'm like, no. Like, Satanism, the only concept of Satanism that I really take that's not Christian is that we don't know what's going to happen after this life. And because of that question, this life is really all that matters. I am the only one that matters. If I had to choose between my kids and myself, I have to choose myself, because my kids have nothing if I'm not okay. So
well, I'm just
I
going to
come
have to say,
first.
I agree with that. And I'll tell you why. I agree that we do not know what's going to happen. I do believe there's a heaven, but I believe that there is a creator that's going to decide what we do after this.
Sure.
I think that too many people think that they know exactly what's going to happen. We're going to face judgment, and he's going to decide. We don't know. We don't get to choose. We're not in control. We never have been. But we are controlled
that's
in this
my
life.
weird thing with Christianity, is where God says, believe in me or else you're going to hell. Well, show yourself. No, it's a test. Like, well, what's the point then? Why the fuck am I alive? like, is this a gamble? Okay, I believe in, like, it just, I mean, I respect Christianity. I respect I was a Christian my entire childhood. I went to school. I went to church 3 times a month, or no, I'm sorry, 3 times a week for a while.
Isn't that crazy?
And
Because most people I know, they say that. They say they grew up in church through their childhood. I did not grow up in church. How does that, like, how do you come from church and like turn so far away from it? And I come from such a dark place, and I wind up, I mean, I don't agree with everything the church does, but
Sure.
I feel
Were you
I'm so
raised to be
strongly drawn to
aggressively
God,
like
you know?
atheist or aggressively
Yeah,
like
what were you
anti-Christian?
before?
What's that?
Sorry. What were you before? Like,
Yeah.
before you became aggressively Christian?
Just nothing. I wasn't, there
Well,
was no
atheist.
direction. I was just I grew up neglected and deprived and just outcasted, and there was no guidance or anything. God has shown himself to me throughout my life, and I can't explain that. It's so personal that
Yes.
I'm not trying to convince you. It just is.
That's the thing. Like, it's the same thing with the goddamn abortion value. Like, I'm not, no Satanist, no person who, I mean, there's a few, God, there's a ACAB. There's like a few people in here who are like, turn to Islam, turn to this. It's like, dude, no, it's a personal relationship. If it makes you a better person, yes, like, yeah, go for it. Christianity didn't make me a better person. It took me 15 years to find my path. It took you coming and find, like, you look like you're very healthy and you know yourself, and that's fucking beautiful.
I'm working on some. I'm
like,
working on some
I don't.
health right now. I mean, I just asked, I originally asked to request this live because of the topic that they were on before you joined. But then since
Oh
you
Oh, I'm
yeah,
joined and I
sorry.
was listening, and I
I'm
started
really
Right,
thinking,
right.
I'm
I
like, oh, okay. I'm
I'm
like
not even
listening to it,
seeing
and I'm like,
like
okay,
a lot of
wait a
guest
minute.
requests though. That's what I was saying. Like they come late. They come late, and it's so
Yeah.
weird. So what were we talking about before? Was it like the whole prison
I don't
abolition
know.
thing?
You're the host. You tell me.
Yeah, and I actually took notes this time because usually when I
Yeah.
request a live on that, I won't get on for so long. And then by the
I'm
time I get
sorry.
on, I can't even remember what I was going to say. And it's every live. And like even last night, I had something really valuable to contribute and it just blew up in my face. And I'm just like, gosh, these people don't even know me. They don't get a chance to even hear me because I entered the
No,
live and
that's
it just
you
seemed to be
can't
like a
fucking do
hostile
that shit,
environment
dude.
as soon as I
You
got
gotta you
there.
gotta put yourself out there and be like, fucking add
Yeah,
me, and then they do it.
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. My bad. Because I had like a bunch of requests. It's crazy.
That's
I
okay.
know I wasn't
This is
ready,
this
dude. I was
is
like, oh, I could smoke a cigarette, and he was just like, oh shit,
Yeah.
I don't want to be
Yeah.
judged for smoking a cigarette. But I've learned
This
to
is
look at
The
the
good.
comments. So.
Thank you for
so
permitting me to join. I actually have to go
yeah.
though because my son's getting
Yeah.
ready to go to work and
Oh,
he
okay.
Oh,
doesn't have a
Jesus,
license
I'm
yet.
in so
He
much
has
trouble.
a
It's 4 in the
permit.
morning.
Yeah. Yeah. I probably should go get some sleep too at some point. I only average about 4 hours a night. So you guys,
I'm gonna follow you,
Casey,
by the way.
yeah.
Yeah,
Shelby. Yeah.
I'm gonna add
Hmm?
both of you guys.
Nice to
Yeah,
meet
I'm
you
adding
guys
you both.
at the wee hours in the
Let me
morning.
go ahead and see
Bye.
follow
I'll find you in the
follow
morning.
her. All right, there we go. Make sure I send it all a little message in the chat. All right, guys, make sure you guys follow Casey, follow, and guys, I want to tell you thank you for joining me. It's been great conversations. I gotta do this way more often, so I'll be doing this tomorrow, probably a little bit later on today. Anyways, guys, horns up, peace out. Good night, good luck, and be safe.